I am but a mortal of humble origin, yet I possess the blessing of a supreme master. Initially, I harbored hope that I might possess some heaven-defying constitution. However, after 3 long years of arduous cultivation, I have yet to even step into the true origin realm. So I questioned my master. Master, why did you choose to take a talentless wretch like me as your disciple? To my surprise, my master replied in this fashion. That day, I had just ascended to the position of peak master, and the sect leader insisted I accept a disciple for the sake of appearances. I went down the mountain for a stroll, and found you to be the most agreeable to my eyes. So I brought you back simply to fill the quota. Since that day, I began a life of complete stagnation at Dunuyat Peak. After all, I am the master's only disciple, and he is even lazier than I am. He barely bothers to concern himself with whether I live or die. Compared to my previous life, where I toiled away clocking in for work, this existence is far more comfortable. At the very least, I occasionally get to catch a glimpse of my peerlessly beautiful master bathing. Then came a day when my master, having vanished for several months, suddenly returned reeking of alcohol. Furthermore, trailing behind him was a cold, aloof young girl of about 14 or 15 years of age. Little fan, this is Su Qinghan, your junior sister. Master Shen Qingqiu said this quite casually. I thought to myself, junior sister? I finally have a junior sister? Yet Su Qinghan merely cast a cold glance at me, her beautiful eyes radiating an undisguised sense of icy mockery. My temper flared instantly. I am a transmigrator, yet I am being looked down upon by this little brat. Just as I was about to vent my frustration, Shen Qingqiu spoke again, quite nonchalantly. Oh, by the way, your junior sister is already a master of the core gathering realm. If you have time, go pay your respects and seek her guidance. What, the core gathering realm? Her cultivation is 2 full realms higher than mine. I immediately deflated like a punctured balloon. Forget it, I will not lower myself to argue with a young girl. But at this very moment, the system detected that the host has acquired a junior sister. The unrivaled senior brother critical feedback system has officially activated. The golden finger every transmigrator dreams of has finally arrived. I was trembling with such excitement that I nearly wept on the spot. Shen Qingqiu, seeing my trembling state, patted my shoulder in an exaggerated manner. Alas, it is all because I left you alone on this mountain for too long. You have become ill from the solitude. Even Su Qinghan looked at me, her gaze shifting from disdain to profound pity. She stepped forward and handed me an old handkerchief. Senior brother, wipe your drool away. With me here from now on, you shall no longer suffer such fits. Damn it, do you all harbor some sort of misunderstanding? I have finally awakened my golden finger. I am not acting this way because I have lost my mind from loneliness. I snatched the handkerchief, rushed into the kitchen, and simultaneously screamed frantically within my mind. System, do you possess any heaven-defying functions? The system can bind to your junior sister, and subsequently grant a critical multiplier return on her cultivation progress and fortuitous encounters. The stronger she becomes, the more invincible I am. Splendid. Does this not mean others do the hard labor while I reap the benefits without lifting a finger? I was immediately overwhelmed with madness and joy. Then be quick about it. Bind Su Qinghan to me right now. Binding requires the target to meet the required talent threshold. The higher the aptitude, the higher the critical multiplier. As it began scanning Su Qinghan's aptitude, I became incredibly tense, silently praying that she not be another piece of trash that Master picked up on a whim. But upon reflection, since Master managed to pick up a mortal like me, it would be entirely fitting for the sect if she picked up another talentless wretch. I immediately sank into the depths of my consciousness as the verification finished. Su Qinghan's aptitude meets the requirements. Binding successful. Name Su Qinghan. Cultivation. First layer of the gathering core realm. Physique. Extreme ice dragon bloodline. Note, the reincarnation of the first Empress of the 9 heavens profound realm, currently carrying a deep blood feud. Wait, the text combines 49 and 50 in the logic flows, so observing 50 as a separate line. The reincarnation of the supreme Empress of the 9 heavens, carrying a debt of blood. Upon hearing mention of the ice dragon bloodline and the reincarnation of the supreme Empress, I was instantly turned to stone. Master. Oh Master, last time you brought back a useless piece of trash, and this time you went down the mountain and brought back an Empress-level powerhouse. You truly understand the meaning of extreme contrast, do you not? The ice dragon bloodline. That is a legendary, heaven-defying physique capable of tearing through the firmament and severing the ancient void. Furthermore, she is the reincarnation of an Empress. Looking at myself, a common mortal physique with nothing remarkable to speak of, I suddenly felt that I, the senior disciple, was truly the most miserable of them all. But now, everything is different. I too am a man who possesses a cheat. To celebrate, I emptied my entire reserve of low-level spirit beasts that I had caught on the mountain and prepared a large aromatic pot of braised spirit beast meat. The result was that both my Empress junior sister and my master, a half-step sword god, stared with glowing eyes, uncontrollably swallowing their saliva. Su Qinghan was even trembling with anticipation. Ding! Su Qinghan's favorability has increased by 1. I was caught completely off guard. So, this system can also track favorability. I immediately checked the favorability of Shen Qingqiu. 60. Su Qinghan's favorability is 10. Being extremely guarded is acceptable, it is not yet too low. At the dining table, the two of them cast aside all pretenses, eating until their mouths were slick with grease as if they were starving ghosts reincarnated. Immediately afterward, the system's voice chimed incessantly. Ding favorability with Shen Qingqiu has increased by 1. Ding favorability with Su Qinghan has increased by 2. I see, it seems that to conquer an arrogant empress, one must first capture her stomach with fine cuisine. Who would have expected that, after eating and drinking their fill, my master would stretch lazily in a mesmerizing manner and return directly to her cave abode to sleep? It seems she won't be emerging for at least 10 or 15 days. I had no choice but to turn to Su Qinghan, asking her politely, "Junior sister, are there any issues in your cultivation that you require the senior brother's assistance with?" In response, she stood up abruptly, her exquisite face reverting to its perennial mask of icy detachment. "Rest assured, senior brother, regarding cultivation, I will never have any questions for you." What a joke. She is the reincarnated Nine Heavens Empress. For her to ask for guidance from a talentless waste like me, who hasn't even reached the chi refinement stage, would be the height of absurdity. Having said that, Su Qinghan turned and walked away, leaving me with a pile of grease-stained dishes. I was rendered speechless. I finished my meal, wiped my mouth, and left. These two heartless women, I had no choice but to accept my fate and wash the dishes myself. However, elsewhere, Su Qinghan did not go to cultivate. Instead, not far from me, she channeled the potent true chi of the core condensation realm, quickly constructing an exquisite wooden cottage. As she entered the small cabin, a towering vengeful fire ignited in her eyes. "This place shall be the starting point for my return, Su Qinghan. I shall ascend back to the peak of the Nine Heavens. Those traitors and usurpers who betrayed me, wait and see. I will return to the Xuan realm and offer your blood as a sacrifice for my kin." Su Qinghan took a deep breath and sat cross-legged. Deep within her heart, a dark golden dragon scale slowly manifested, engraved with countless mysterious inscriptions, capable of destroying heaven and earth. What exactly is this heaven-defying divine object? This heaven mandate inverse scale had actually followed Su Qinghan through her reincarnation. One must understand that even the supreme divine weapon she personally forged in her past life had been reduced to ashes during the tribulation lightning. Yet this object remained completely unscathed. Could it be a legendary primordial immortal treasure? Just then, the dark golden dragon scale suddenly emitted a blinding blood-red light. A stream of gray information surged instantly into Su Qinghan's mind. Each victory allows one to force a cultivator within a 100-mile radius to engage in a heavenly Tao duel. The victor shall seize the opponent's fortune. Receiving rewards from the heavenly Tao, from divine cultivation manuals, peerless divine weapons to immortal elixirs. Whatever one desires, it provides. Su Qinghan's eyes lit up immediately, but a moment later, she felt a wave of disappointment. What if the duel results in failure? As if sensing her thoughts, the heaven-defying scale trembled slightly, and blood-red characters appeared. Failure in a duel results in a backlash from the heavenly Tao. The loser becomes the victor's sword slave, unconditionally obedient for 1 month. To become a sword slave and remain unconditionally obedient? She is the Nine Heavens Empress. How could she ever become a slave to another? Yet, reflecting on the cultivation world, where the weak serves prey to the strong, she realized this was the law of the heavens. As long as she does not lose, she can grow limitlessly strong. She took a deep breath, her eyes blazing with absolute confidence. "Come, let me see who will be the first unfortunate soul to be trampled beneath my feet." The heaven-defying scale glowed with a brilliant blood-red light. The first target selected for the duel, the senior brother of Qiyu Peak. Lin Fan, the first duel shall commence in 1 month's time. Su Qinghan was momentarily stunned. Lin Fan, that useless senior brother who has yet to even step into the chi condensation realm? Is the heaven itself not delivering these rewards directly to my mouth? Now she could crush Lin Fan into dust with but a single finger. Su Qinghan could not help but shake her head and smile. This heaven-defying scale must find her too pathetic and has intentionally come to offer warmth. "Oh, senior brother, you are but a mortal, while I possess the ice dragon bloodline. Other than an unreasonably handsome face and culinary skills, what do you have to compare against an empress such as me?" She was certain of her victory, already imagining the abundant rewards awaiting her in a month. Immediately after, Su Qinghan steadied her mind and began circulating the Qingfeng technique, the most basic manual of the sect. Yet the terrifying power of the ice dragon bloodline erupted fully at this moment. Her speed in absorbing spirit energy was 100 times faster than that of an ordinary cultivator. All the spiritual energy of Qiyu Peak began to surge madly toward her wooden cottage. At the same time, in the cave dwelling of Master Shen Qingqiu, the semi-stepped sword god was sprawled across a white jade bed, clutching a wine jar in her arms, sleeping in a completely unrefined manner. Suddenly, she sensed something. Her eyes snapped open, a sword intent capable of tearing through the void flashing in their depths. She sat up groggily, gazing through the air towards Su Qinghan's wooden cottage, a trace of utter astonishment flashing in her eyes. The ice dragon bloodline, to think this girl has awakened such a forbidden power, yet her immediate concern remains fixated on my kitchen. At that moment, I had already finished washing the dishes and was resting leisurely on my rocking chair, drifting into a light slumber. She let out a wine-scented yawn, muttering to herself, "The lazy way this stinking brat lies there is actually quite to my liking." Having said that, she pulled her legs up and continued to doze off. And so on the entirety of Qiyu Peak, only Su Qinghan remained, diligently toiling away in her cultivation. The next day, just as the sky began to brighten, Su Qinghan concluded a night of frantic cultivation. In that single fleeting night, her cultivation base had surged directly from the first stage of the pellet-gathering realm to the third stage. One must realize that for an ordinary genius to achieve such a feat, even with the assistance of medicinal elixirs, it would take no less than 3 years. The Ice Dragon bloodline is truly terrifying. Su Qinghan was quite satisfied with this result. Her beautiful lips curled into a smile of absolute arrogance, as if looking down upon all the heroes of the world. At this rate of progress, a month from now, what hope will the senior brother have to survive? She even began to pity me, secretly mapping out a future path for me in her mind. Because your kusuking is palatable, once I return to my peak, I will reluctantly accept you as my personal attendant. That is a supreme honor that countless saints would fight to the death just to obtain. Meanwhile, elsewhere, I had just finished a deep, restful sleep and stretched my limbs comfortably. Suddenly, a series of frantic notifications from the system erupted in my mind like a thunderclap.
Ding!
Detected that junior sister Su Qinghan has broken through 2 cultivation stages after a night of arduous training. Invincible critical feedback activated. Ding, first feedback triggered. 10,000-fold critical hit. Congratulations to the host for receiving the Primordial Chaos Sword Manual, mastered to the maximum level. Congratulations to the host, cultivation-based commencement of forced empowerment. In the next second, I felt the meridians in my body, which had been dormant, immediately pierced by a surge of power as vast as a sea of stars. There was no pain, only a sensation of ultimate sublime comfort. Chi refining, pellet gathering, sea splitting, soul transformation, void breaking. In the span of just 3 breaths, the true chi within my body converged into a boundless spiritual sea. The spiritual sea boiled, coalescing into a brilliant, blindingly radiant chaos golden pellet. Shattering the void, a sword intent, magnificent and extreme, shot straight into the high heavens. Deep within the center of my brow, an internal world of swords opened wide. From a mortal with no cultivation, I leaped across 5 major realms, soaring instantly to the peak of the void-breaking realm. I stood there, utterly stunned, as motionless as a wooden statue. Is this some kind of mistake? She labored all night just to advance from the first stage to the 3rd stage of the pellet-gathering realm. After a single sleep, the system propelled me straight to the heavens, granting me the cultivation of a shattering realm expert and vaulting me over dozens of minor stages. Has this system lost its mind? Yet moments later, an irrepressible joy erupted within me like a surging volcano. The corners of my mouth curled upward uncontrollably. I nearly tilted my head back and roared with laughter. This system is formidable. I can sense such terrifying power within my body that it feels as though a single strike could cleave a star in 2. I have never felt such immense satisfaction. This time I, the eldest senior brother, have finally regained some dignity. I pushed open the kitchen door and stepped outside. Just then I saw Su Qinghan emerging from the wooden hut. Clad in white, she appeared as cold and ethereal as an immortal. I gazed upon her as if looking at an invaluable treasure. My dear junior sister, you truly are my personal goldmine. A wide grin spread across my face as I walked toward her. Good morning, junior sister. You must be exhausted from your cultivation last night, aren't you? What would you like to eat for lunch? Your senior brother will personally head down the mountain to hunt a prime demonic beast to nourish you. Hearing this, a flicker of emotion, rare and subtle, passed through Su Qinghan's eyes, though she maintained the stoic demeanor of an empress on the surface. She gave a faint nod and replied, Senior brother, you go to too much trouble. Anything will do, while I continued to inquire about her well-being. That's right. Did you sleep well in the wooden hut last night? Were you cold? Su Qinghan answered indifferently, cultivators have no fear of heat or cold. She thought to herself, this dilapidated mountain does not even possess a single spirit-gathering array. How could it ever compare to my previous life's 9 heavens ice palace? However, in light of your considerate attitude, this empress will not complain. That is good to hear. I chuckled softly. Looking at the cold and icy Su Qinghan before me, I felt she was more and more like a walking treasury. Then I shall go and source some food now. You must absolutely not slack off. Ah, forgive me. Do continue your diligent cultivation. With those words, I turned and headed down the mountain. Yet, Su Qinghan watched my retreating figure, which lacked even the slightest ripple of spiritual energy, and shook her head with an air of superiority. She thought to herself, my foolish senior brother, you do not even realize that you are destined to become the stepping stone for my ascension in a month's time. In consideration of your kindness toward me, I shall ensure your safety and prosperity for the rest of your life. At the same moment, I whistled a tune. Midway through my journey, I suddenly slapped my thigh. Damn it, I am now a grandmaster at the peak of the void-shattering realm. I can soar through the sky on my sword, so why am I still walking? However, just as I was about to form a sword seal with my fingers, ready to take flight in a display of peerless grace, a harrowing roar erupted from the sky above. Immediately afterward, a massive wild boar, its entire body encased in violet lightning, descended like a falling meteorite. And with a thunderous boom, it crashed into the ground not far from where I stood, carving out a massive crater. The boar was drenched in blood. It convulsed a few times before drawing its final breath right before my eyes. I was overjoyed. A golden-armored thunderswine. This is a high-grade beast of great value. Even the heavens must have known I intended to nourish my junior martial sister, dropping the ingredients directly from the sky. But to my surprise, the very next second, a violent blood-colored blade aura tore through the air, slashing directly toward my face. This blade aura was incredibly lethal. Had I been my former self, I surely would have been sliced in 2 instantly. Yet now I merely waved my hand with a look of impatience. With a crisp, sharp sound, that blood-red aura, which seemed capable of destroying the heavens and the earth, shattered like a fragile pane of glass under my strike, not even whipping up a gust of wind in its wake. I gazed at my fair, slender hand, my heart pounding in my chest. Damn it, am I truly this powerful? At that moment, 2 figures emerged from the nearby forest. The scarred youth leading them stared at me, his face full of disbelief. How could you, a mortal with no cultivation base, possibly withstand my blood slaughter strike? I looked at these two individuals wearing inner disciple robes, my face filled with bewilderment. Who are you? And why are you trying to steal my boar? The scarred youth flew into a rage, letting out a cold, sharp laugh. Lin Fan, why are you feigning ignorance? Do you not remember the youth who knelt outside Kuyu Peak 3 years ago, weeping and begging for mercy? I was taken aback by this, but after careful recollection I suddenly realized. 3 years ago, there did seem to be a fool kneeling outside the mountain gate, crying and insisting on having my master take him as a disciple. As it turned out, my master was in closed-door cultivation within the cave dwelling, and never paid him the slightest bit of attention. At the time, I saw that he was pitiable, so I had the good heart to advise him to try a different mountain. Instead, he mistook my words for an insult, springing up to point an accusing finger directly at me, shouting curses. You are merely a trash with a mortal body, yet you managed to join Kuyu Peak. Why could I, Zhao Kuang, not do the same? 30 years in the east, 30 years in the west, just you wait. I never expected to encounter such a middle school, syndrome-stricken fool here. Over these past 3 years, I have endured life and death trials while cultivating relentlessly at Shangli Peak. Zhao Kuang held his head high in arrogance, his entire body erupting with a terrifying aura. I have now reached the peak of the 9th stage of the core condensation realm, only half a step away from the sea opening realm. Lin Fan, draw your sword. Today, I shall wash away the humiliation you caused me. I simply spread my hands, wearing an expression of feigned innocence and helplessness. Big brother, look at me. Do you see a sword? I do not even possess a single storage bag. The lackey standing beside Zhao Kuang immediately burst into laughter. The grand senior brother of Kuyu Peak, yet he does not even own a low-grade storage bag. You truly bring shame upon our Tianji sword sect. I shrugged, appearing to be in complete agreement. Indeed, my master is incredibly stingy. He does not even provide me with living expenses. It is fortunate that you did not join Kuyu Peak back then, or you would certainly be even poorer than I am today. Oh, that's right. My master recently took in another junior sister, and she is quite beautiful. I was merely stating facts, yet these honest words, upon reaching his ears, twisted into the most venomous form of mockery. Good. Very good. Zhao Kuang's eyes turned blood red with fury. He had completely lost his composure. Shen Qingqiu, that wretched woman, she would rather take in new disciples than accept me. Zhao Kuang, I will kill you, this piece of trash, first, then I will cripple that new junior sister of yours. Upon hearing him threaten my junior sister, the laughter in my eyes vanished, replaced by an absolute, bone-chilling coldness. To threaten my junior sister, to threaten my precious experience farming machine, is to obstruct my path to supremacy. You court death! Zhao Kuang roared, the battle blade in his hand glowing with a sinister blood-red light as he unleashed his blood berserk blade technique. His entire figure transformed into a crimson cyclone, descending upon me with enough force to cleave mountains and sever rivers. This single strike carried enough power to instantly obliterate 10 cultivators at the peak of the core condensation realm. It is a pity he chose the wrong target. As the blade drew near my head, I merely raised 2 fingers with deliberate slowness. Clang! A piercing sound of metal striking metal echoed through the air. That spiritual battle blade, surging with endless bloodlust, was effortlessly clamped between my 2 fingers, unable to advance or retreat. The entire scene seemed to freeze, and the malevolent smirk on Zhao Kuang's face instantly solidified. His pupils constricted violently, as if he were witnessing something truly incomprehensible. I spoke indifferently, and as my voice faded, I applied a gentle pressure. The terrifying true chi of the void-shattering realm erupted from the tips of my fingers. Crack! That high-grade spirit battle blade was pulverized into countless shards under my grip. Immediately after, the destructive backlash force surged along the shattered remains of the blade and struck Zhao Kuang directly in the chest. Zhao Kuang spat out a massive mouthful of blood, his entire body reeling as if struck by a falling meteor, flying backward for over 100 meters, snapping more than 10 towering ancient trees along the way, until he finally slammed into a cliff face embedded so deeply he could not pull himself free. With his bones shattered throughout his body, he lost consciousness on the spot. I casually brushed the dust off my fingertips and muttered to myself, having just obtained this power, I have yet to master my control. Such a careless oversight. At this moment, the lackey who had been mocking me just a moment ago, terrified to the point of losing control of his bladder, collapsed to the ground, pointing at me with violent tremors. You are not human. You have been hiding your cultivation all this time. You are clearly not a mortal body. I stepped forward. Looking down at him from above, the corners of my mouth curled into a gentle smile. I am indeed a mortal body, but who decreed that a mortal cannot crush you with a single finger? Having said that, I turned around and hoisted the 1,000-pound, golden-armored lightning boar onto my shoulder. I am taking this pig. It will make excellent soup for my junior sister. Try to deliver more next time. I hummed a light tune. Leaving with ease, I knew that this golden-armored lightning boar contained violent lightning attribute energy within its body, which would undoubtedly serve to powerfully stimulate the bloodline of Su Qinghan. The more her cultivation increases, the more terrifying my critical return rewards will become. My dear junior sister, your senior brother has exhausted himself for your sake. You must be sure to cherish it. After descending the mountain, I spent the last of my spare silver to purchase a few spirit herbs and medicinal ingredients. Meanwhile, news of me playing the pig to eat the tiger, killing the genius Zhao Kuang of Shangli Peak in a single strike, spread like a storm throughout the Tianji sword sect. Everyone found it impossible to believe that a man labeled a good-for-nothing for 3 years could suddenly unleash such power. Countless eyes of curiosity, shock, and even envy began to silently fixate on Kuiyu Peak, but I could not have cared less. Returning to the peak, I immediately retreated to the kitchen, raised my blade, and began to simmer a potent spirit meat soup for Su Qinghan. After 3 hours of simmering, a thick broth emitting a faint lightning glow and a fragrance that carried for 10 miles was served before Su Qinghan. She took one breath of the aroma. This is the peak Tier 3 demonic beast, the golden-horned iron-bristled boar. Her heart surged with immense waves of emotion. The strength of this beast rivals the early stage of the sea-refining realm. Even in her past life, she would have needed to reach the peak transformation realm to slay it with ease. Just what kind of life-or-death struggle had Lin Fan endured to obtain this soup for her? A tragic scene immediately manifested in her mind, me covered in blood, risking my life to protect the ingredients. Her nose stung with an unbearable sharpness. Su Qinghan's heart was deeply moved, affection points increased by 15. As I held the bowl, my hand trembled slightly, adding another 15 points. The inner world of this young empress is truly far too vivid. To be moved to such an extent by a single meal, just how foolish were those who hunted her down in her past life. Junior sister, drink it while it's hot, it is highly beneficial for your cultivation. I suppressed the joy in my heart and urged her gently. With red-rimmed eyes, Su Qinghan lifted the bowl and began to drink in large gulps, completely disregarding her usual composure. As soon as the broth touched her stomach, she felt as if a thunder dragon were roaring within her body. A massive refined surge of spiritual energy instantly rushed through her meridians. Her fair, delicate face flushed bright red, and wisps of white steam even rose from the top of her head. But when she looked up, she saw me sitting beside her, watching her with a gentle smile. My expression remained calm, and there was not even a trace of spiritual energy fluctuation coming from my body. Su Qinghan was instantly stunned. Senior brother is born with a mortal physique. He is fundamentally unable to absorb a divine object containing such violent spiritual energy. He risked his life to retrieve this treasure, only to give it all to her. Thinking of this, the gaze she fixed upon me held not only gratitude but also a profound sense of heartache. To possess a physique that cannot retain spiritual energy is truly the tragedy of the cultivation world. Senior brother clearly possesses a heart sincerely devoted to the Tao, yet he is mocked by the heavens themselves. Su Qinghan set the bowl down firmly, her eyes radiating intense determination. What is wrong? Is it not enough? There's still more in the pot. I stood up in a hurry saying, do not worry, junior sister. She stared directly into my eyes, her voice carrying the dignity and weight of an empress's vow. I, Su Qinghan, hereby swear. From this day forth, as long as I am with Lin Tingfeng, even if I must tread through the underworld, I will find a divine herb to defy the heavens and change your fate. I will never let you wither away in the river of time. Su Qinghan has sworn a life and death oath. Affection points increased by 20, bringing her total affection to 47. A bond of life and death. I was astonished. I only invited her for a bowl of pork soup. Why did she have to mention treading through the underworld? Besides, I am currently an expert at the peak destruction realm. Far stronger than you, yet on the surface I must maintain this facade. With eyes slightly reddened, I gently stroked her hair. Junior sister, having your devotion is enough. Even if I were to perish, I would have no regrets. Now go and cultivate. Do not waste the potency of the pill. Su Qinghan nodded firmly, turned around, and dashed into the wooden hut, immediately sitting in a meditative posture. I watched her receding figure, my heart blooming with joy. Keep cultivating, my dear. Work harder for me. True to my expectations, just half an hour later, a vortex of spiritual energy suddenly surged above the roof of Su Qinghan's hut. Harnessing the immense power of the elixir, she shattered the shackles of the giant pill realm and leapt directly into the first stage of the Sea of Refinement realm. At the very same moment, I was simply basking in the sun in the courtyard. The system's notification tone rang in my mind like a violent symphony. Ding, detected that the junior sister has overcome 10,000 trials to break through a major realm, triggering a 10,000-fold critical return. Congratulations, host. My cultivation base surged with frenzied momentum, breaking through the early stage of the Void Realm, the mid-stage, and finally, the peak of the Void Realm. Half a step into the Marquis Realm, boom, a sound like the heavens and earth opening resonated within my body. The wild, violent power was frantically compressed, and as it refined within me, it finally transformed into the peerless true aura of a Marquis. After finishing a bowl of pork soup that afternoon, Lin Fan had officially stepped into the Marquis realm. The very realm that the elder of the Tianji sword sect attained, it felt so intoxicating I nearly floated into the clouds. This speed is truly more formidable than any genius. Others cultivate the immortal path by defying the heavens. I cultivate the immortal path because the system insists on spoon-feeding success into my mouth. Just as I was immersed in the ecstasy of invincibility, time drifted to the early hours of the next morning. Su Qinghan finished her night of consolidating her cultivation. She pushed the door open to find me snoring loudly on the rocking chair, and she frowned. She was about to say something, but ultimately let out a sigh. Forget it. Regardless of how hard senior brother tries, his mortal bones and leaking body make it all futile. Rather than letting him suffer, it is better he remains a carefree mortal here in the mountains. I will handle the path ahead for his sake. With that, she did not wake me, instead picking up a rusted longsword and heading to the back mountain to practice her sword techniques. However, not long after Su Qinghan departed, the system in my mind suddenly issued a glaring red alert. Ding, emergency warning. Detected that the host's junior sister is being besieged and bullied with malicious intent. System triggering temporary mission. Domineering protection of the wife. Completion grants a mysterious reward pack. My half-closed eyes snapped open, and a terrifying aura of a Marcus instantly enveloped the entire Quiyu Peak. To think there are those who dare to bully my source of cultivation points. My figure flashed. I didn't even leave behind an afterimage, instantly vanishing from where I stood. At the base of Quiyu Peak, Su Qinghan was being tightly surrounded by 5 or 6 youths clad in the robes of Shangli Peak. The leader was a man with a feminine, devious air, holding a folding fan in his hand as his lecherous gaze scanned Su Qinghan's cold, exquisite figure from head to toe. Well, is this the new female disciple of Quiyu Peak? Truly a peerless beauty, though it is a pity she chose the wrong master. Su Qinghan gripped her dull sword tightly, her eyes as cold as bone-chilling ice. Get out of my way, a good dog does not block the road. The effeminate youth's expression darkened before he broke into a sinister smile. A sharp tongue you have there. I am Li Qi, the lead disciple of Shangli Peak. I heard that the piece of trash, Lin Fan, used some underhanded tactic yesterday to ambush my junior brother, Zhao Kuang. Today, not only will I break your legs to establish my authority, but I will also make Lin Fan kneel and lick my boots like a dog. Li Qi was an expert at the 6th level of the Lianhai realm, ranked among the top 5 inner disciples. Su Qinghan's heart sank. Although she had achieved a breakthrough into the Lianhai realm and possessed the Ice Dragon bloodline that allowed her to battle beyond her cultivation level, facing a gap of 6 stages, combined with so many henchmen, was overwhelming. This battle was a near-death situation, yet the pride of an empress would not allow her to retreat even half a step. You want my senior brother to kneel? Are you even worthy? Killing intent erupted in Su Qinghan's eyes, and just as she was about to force a burn of her vital essence to unleash the Ice Dragon holy body to engage, at that critical moment of life and death, a furious roar, like a thunderbolt from the 9 heavens, descended with a crash. Who dares to touch a single hair on my junior sister? Boom, the earth shook violently and a figure descended with the ferocity of a falling star, landing squarely in front of Su Qinghan. The terrifying shockwave instantly sent the henchmen flying, causing them to spew blood profusely. As the dust settled, I stood with my back to Su Qinghan, like an insurmountable ancient mountain, shielding her from all danger. Li Qi was forced back 3 steps by the sheer force of that aura, his expression shifting between shock and suspicion as he stared at me. Lin Fan, you actually dare to come here and throw your life away? You have arrived at the perfect time. I shall settle my debts with the old and new accounts at once. Too lazy to even glance at him, I turned to look at Su Qinghan, my voice immediately softening into a tone of immense tenderness. Junior sister, were you injured? Su Qinghan stared at my broad back, her heart pounding in her chest. He clearly possesses no cultivation base. Why would he rush out to throw his life away just to protect me? Senior brother, you must leave quickly. He is at the 6th stage of the Lianhai realm. You are no match for him. In a panic, Su Qinghan reached out, attempting to pull me behind her. Instead, I took hold of her small cold hand, the soft sensation stirring my heart. I smiled, giving her a look of absolute reassurance. Junior sister, do not be afraid. Here on Thunuyat Peak, even if the heavens were to collapse, your senior brother would hold them up for you. Su Qinghan stood frozen in place, that deep, confident gaze of mine causing her to experience a strange illusion. It seemed as though the person standing before her was not a talentless mortal, but an invincible god of war who stood peerless under the heavens. Faced with such blatant disregard, Li Qi, who had been ignored, completely lost his composure in a fit of rage. All of you, go to hell. Netherworld poison palm. His hands instantly turned a ghastly shade of green, carrying a pungent, foul stench, and with a vicious, cunning angle, he struck directly toward the back of my neck. To be struck by this palm meant certain death. From behind came the frantic cry of Su Qinghan. Senior brother, look out. Yet I remained standing still, never turning my head, and even let out a calm yawn. Just as that poisonous palm was about to brush my robes, I merely exhaled a soft sigh. Why must there always be such trash appearing to soil my eyes? As my words faded, I did not even move to strike. I simply let my gaze turn frigid, and a royal aura so faint it was nearly imperceptible, yet so terrifyingly absolute, crashed down upon Li Qi with a thunderous roar. Li Qi, who had been so arrogant only moments ago, felt as if a 10,000-foot mountain had slammed into him. Before he could even let out a scream, his knees hammered heavily against the reinforced bluestone floor, shattering the stone beneath him. His hands crumbled into ruin, blood erupting forth, while an overwhelming force pinned him to the ground, preventing him from moving, much like a toad being crushed underfoot. The entire scene descended into a deathly, suffocating silence. Only the sound of the wind, rustling through the leaves, remained. Su Qinghan's beautiful eyes widened, her mouth slightly agape, her face a mask of utter disbelief as if she had seen a ghost. Without a single strike, or rather, without even making a move, a mere glance had instantly obliterated an elite intersect genius at the 6th stage of the Lianhai realm. How could it be? Is Lin Fan not a mortal with ordinary bones? Did he not lack even the slightest cultivation in the qi refining realm? Su Qinghan's worldview collapsed at this very moment. She stared at me, her mind suddenly recalling the day I fell from the sky with a pig, and the indifferent attitude I displayed when facing Zhao Tong. So, it turns out that senior brother has been concealing his true strength all along. He is not a good-for-nothing at all, but a truly peerless hidden master. How foolish of me to have assumed I needed to protect him. I, a dignified empress, have misjudged a person so thoroughly. Su Qinghan's face burned red. She was so embarrassed she wished to find a hole to hide in. Yet at the same time, the indomitable pride deep within her soul was fully ignited. The comparison target designated by the will of heaven is not wrong. Senior brother is truly my greatest rival. I looked at Li Qi, who was lying on the ground spitting blood, and waved my hand in disgust. Take your dog and get out of my sight. If you dare to step even half a foot into Kuiyu Peak again, I will mince you into feed for the pigs. The henchmen were so terrified they nearly lost control of their bladders. They scrambled to lift the unconscious Li Qi and fled for their lives. I turned around and looked at Su Qinghan with an expectant expression. Junior sister, was your senior brother not impressive? To my surprise, Su Qinghan took a deep breath, her eyes burning with an intensity and fervor I had never seen before. She grabbed my sleeve firmly and I was startled. What are you doing? Do you intend to assault me? Su Qinghan bit her crimson lips and spoke every word with conviction. Senior brother, you have hidden your strength well, but I will absolutely not admit defeat. One day, I will defeat you with my own hands. Having said that, as if fueled by a frenzied spirit, she did not look back and rushed toward the back mountain to resume her desperate seclusion. I stood there dumbfounded. This script is not following the expected path. Ordinarily, shouldn't she be weeping in my arms and offering herself to repay my kindness? Why has this triggered such a perverse competitive drive in her? However, the system's notification chimed in my mind. Ding, junior sister Su Qinghan's determination has erupted, increasing her cultivation efficiency by 1000%. Host synchronously receives 10,000 times the AFK experience. Feeling the true energy within my body beginning to surge uncontrollably, the corners of my mouth curled into a smile. Keep grinding. Keep at it. As long as it doesn't kill you, push yourself to the limit. After all, the one who benefits in the end is me. This incident once again shook the Tianji sword sect. Li Qi, the senior disciple of Shangli Peak, had been crippled, causing a stir among the higher echelons of the Eastern Soul. That evening, within the grand hall of Shangli Peak, a young man in white robes radiant as the stars sat at the head of the chamber. Sword intent swirled around his entire body as if he possessed the power to cleave the very heavens asunder. The number one genius of the Tianji sword sect, the head disciple, Bu Tianxing trash, all of them were mere trash. Bu Tianxing struck the sandalwood table before him with a single palm, shattering it into pieces. He looked at Li Qi, who lay miserable on a stretcher. His face was deathly pale. How could someone who had been a good-for-nothing for 3 years suddenly possess such strength? Bu Tianxing's gaze turned somber. It was certain that he had obtained some ancient inheritance, or that the madwoman Shen Qingqiu had bestowed a treasure upon him. An elder beside him spoke cautiously. Senior brother Gu, this Lin Fan has hidden his true self very deeply. Perhaps we should bide our time. Bu Tianxing let out a cold snort. In half a month, the sect will open the Tiangong Sword Repository. Within that repository lies the supreme inheritance left behind by the sword immortals of old. I do not believe Lin Fan would dare to enter. If he dares to show his face, I will ensure his soul is scattered to the winds within that repository. Scene changed to Kuiyu Peak. I was leisurely roasting a spirit fowl, though I could not recall where I had scavenged it. Su Qinghan returned from the back mountain, drenched in sweat. After several days of frantically pushing her potential to the limit, her cultivation had once again surged, reaching the peak of the Lianhai realm. She was separated from the waiting realm by only the thinnest layer of paper. If news of this monstrous progress were to spread, it would surely terrify even the oldest of monsters. Of course, the one who benefited most was myself. I had firmly established my cultivation at the peak of the mid-stage Wangho realm. Junior sister, come here and eat some chicken to replenish your strength, I said, offering her a golden roasted leg. Su Qinghan did not take it. Instead, she looked at me with eyes bright with anticipation. Senior brother, in 3 days the sect will open the Tiangong Sword Repository. I hear that the foundation protecting treasure of the Tianji sword sect is hidden within. The Tai sword spirit. I want to enter. I was stunned. If you want to enter, then go. Why are you reporting this to me? Su Qinghan gritted her teeth. Bu Tianxing has declared, if I dare to step even half a pace into the repository, he will kill me. He was an expert at the 5th level of the waiting realm. For the first time she revealed the expression of a young maiden, her cheeks flushed with a faint blush. I wish to invite senior brother to accompany me. System, Su Qinghan has sent you a party invitation. If you refuse, it will severely impact your junior sister's morale and hinder her cultivation progress. Good heavens, is this moral blackmail? But upon reflection, the sword repository is... If I, Su Qinghan, use the treasure hunting rat to scavenge within, triggering the critical return system, wouldn't I soar to the heavens instantly? I waved my hand, my aura surging toward the sky. Junior sister, follow me. We are going to raise the sword tomb to the ground. As for those like Bu Tianxing or Bu Dixing, whoever dares to touch my junior sister will be beaten until even their own mother wouldn't recognize them. Su Qinghan broke into a smile, a breathtaking sight like melting snow and blossoming flowers, causing my heart to skip a beat. The way this girl smiles is truly lethal. 3 days later, the main square of the Tianji sword sect was swarming with people. Every inner disciple and elder had gathered here. In the center of the vast plaza, an ancient bronze gate, shackled by countless iron chains, stood in silent defiance. That was the entrance to the heavenly stellar sword tomb. As Su Qinghan and I walked onto the square side by side, the clamor of the crowd fell silent instantly. Countless gazes converged upon us simultaneously. There was mockery, envy, curiosity, and hatred. Look, it's the freakish pair of senior and junior siblings from Kuiyu Peak. Lin Fan actually dares to show up? He offended Bu Tianxing. Senior brother Gu will certainly not spare him. He is clearly here to court death. The crowd instinctively parted to create a path. Bu Tianxing, clad in white robes, stepped forward as if surrounded by the starlight. His gaze was arrogant, looking down upon me from a position of absolute superiority. Lin Fan, I truly thought you would be a coward hiding in his shell for the rest of your life. I didn't expect you to actually come here to forfeit your life. I picked at my ear and flicked dust off my fingernails. And who are you? The large yellow dog at the entrance of my village barks more impressively than you do. The entire plaza gasped in shock. Had this Lin Fan lost his mind? He dared to publicly insult the sect's #1 genius, Bu Tianxing, by calling him a dog. Bu Tianxing's face turned purple and the veins on his forehead began to throb. You are courting death. Just as he was about to lose his restraint and strike, a resonant bell chime echoed across the heavens. The majestic voice of the presiding elder rang out across the plaza. The auspicious hour has arrived. The sword tomb is now open. Rumble. The massive bronze gate slowly creaked open, and an ancient savage sword intent surged forth. Bu Tianxing glared at me and made a throat-slitting gesture. Lin Fan, once we enter the sword tomb, I will show you what it means to wish for death. Having said that, he took the lead, transforming into a streak of light as he surged through the massive gate. I curled my lips and turned to Su Qinghan. Junior sister, stay close to me. It is dark inside, so watch your step. Su Qinghan nodded obediently, and after we entered the sword tomb, the surroundings were enveloped in a strange, hazy space. The ground was pierced with countless shattered ancient swords. Each blade still clung to a lingering trace of its former master's sword intent. Wow, what a pile of scrap metal, I remarked, casually kicking aside a rusted blade. Su Qinghan's expression turned grave. Senior brother, do not be reckless. The sword intent here actively targets anyone who enters. No sooner had she spoken than hundreds of broken blades began to hum, rising in unison to form a tempest of sword energy. They surged toward us with lethal intent. A mere petty trick, Su Qinghan scoffed. Just as she prepared to strike, I stepped forward to shield her. Junior sister, stand back. Let your senior brother show off. Let your senior brother handle this. I calmly raised my right hand. Without even channeling my internal energy, I relied solely on the physical strength of a Marquis realm expert and struck the air with a single slap. Boom! A thunderous explosion echoed through the air. The storm of sword energy, potent enough to slaughter a cultivator of the sea refinement realm, was shattered by my blow into countless fragments of scrap iron. The debris fell scattered upon the ground. Su Qinghan stood frozen in astonishment. With nothing but pure physical strength, I had obliterated the sword tempest. Could my senior brother's physique truly be forged from primordial divine iron? Su Qinghan felt immense shock at the host's display of power, and her favorability toward him increased. I dusted off my hands, feeling quite pleased with myself. Let us proceed, junior sisters. We head to the deepest point to claim the treasure. The two of us advanced, and every remnant of sword intent that dared to obstruct our path was annihilated by a single strike from me. We soon reached the heart of the sword burial ground, the Sword Heart Altar. More than 10 peak-tier geniuses had already gathered there. Bu Tianxing stood at the center of the altar, while a massive translucent icy blue sword hovered before him. The blade emitted a chilling aura so profound that it made the very soul tremble. Ha ha ha! I have found it! Bu Tianxing laughed triumphantly. A heaven-grade divine weapon, the Frost Twin Nine Provinces sword. With this, I shall sweep through my generation and claim dominion over the vast land. Just as his hand reached for the hilt, a cold voice rang out from behind him. That blade, I have taken a fancy to it. Bu Tianxing spun around sharply, finding that Su Qinghan and I were already standing at the edge of the altar. He was startled, then sneered. Lin Fan, to think you managed to arrive here. It saves me the trouble of seeking you out myself today. Do not even dream of leaving this place alive. Bu Tianxing drew his cold Nine Provinces sword, and a terrifying frigid sword aura instantly erupted. The temperature of the entire altar plummeted below freezing. The inner disciples nearby retreated in fear, their faces drained of color. Senior Brother Gu is truly about to strike. Combined with his peak stage transformation cultivation, even an elder would have to evade such a strike. Su Qinghan felt that wave of cold, and the ice dragon bloodline within her began to resonate. Her eyes flashed with a hint of greed. Senior brother, this sword is of great use, she whispered with a smile. Of great use, you say? Then it is nothing more than a bag of experience. I patted her shoulder and said, go take it. I shall slay anyone who dares to stop you. How overbearing. How arrogant. Bu Tianxing laughed in anger, arrogant to the point of seeking death. He unleashed the snow-reflecting frost sword technique, sending forth 100 zang-long blue ice sword aura, carrying a breath of death capable of freezing all living things, striking directly toward my head. The might of this sword strike was earth-shattering. Su Qinghan's face turned pale and she cried out in terror. Yet facing this seemingly invincible strike, I did not even bother to dodge. I simply raised my right hand and extended a single index finger. With a deafening roar, the terrifying 100 zang sword aura crashed violently against my fingertip. Yet my index finger did not show even the slightest white scratch. Conversely, that sword aura shattered into countless ice crystals, as if it had struck an unmovable divine mountain. Impossible. Bu Tianxing's pupils dilated as if they were about to pop from his sockets. This was the ultimate killing. Even when combined with a heavenly grade divine weapon, he could not even sever a single finger of Lin Fan. What manner of monster is this? The geniuses watching from the sidelines were so terrified they collapsed to the ground, their jaws practically hitting the floor. No, this cannot be real. What is your cultivation base exactly? Gu Tianxing's psyche completely shattered, and he let out a miserable wail. I let out a yawn, my expression bored. You dare call yourself the #1 genius with such pathetic skills? You truly disappoint me. As soon as I finished speaking, I swung my hand in a slap. I exerted a fraction of my strength for this blow, roughly 1/10 of a Marquis realm cultivation base, causing a massive handprint of true energy to manifest from the void, striking Gu Tianxing across the face. Half of Gu Tianxing's face was reduced to a mangled mess of flesh and blood, his teeth mixed with fresh blood sprayed from his mouth. And his entire body was sent flying backward like a cannonball, slamming heavily into the distant wall of the altar, forming a deep, human-shaped crater. The heavenly grade divine weapon, the Shuanghan Juzhou sword, slipped from his grasp and spun through the air. Su Qinghan was quick-witted. She leaped up and caught the sword with one hand. The moment she grasped the blade, the ice dragon bloodline that had been suppressed within her body for so long could no longer be contained. A clear, piercing dragon roar echoed from within her body, ascending straight to the 9 heavens. A translucent phantom of an ice dragon, spanning several hundred feet, manifested behind her. An icy chill completely enveloped the sword pool, causing all things to resonate as the sacred body descended. Outside the plaza, the sect leader and the peak masters, who had been sitting on the high platform, stood up in collective astonishment. What manner of constitution could trigger such a heaven-defying phenomenon? Could this icy aura be the legendary ice dragon's sacred body emanating from the sword pool? Quickly, go and investigate. More than a dozen beams of light surged frantically toward the sword pool. At this moment, within the sword pools, Su Qinghan stood with the divine sword in hand, appearing like a goddess of ice and snow, and thanks to the feedback from the divine weapon, she directly broke through the bottleneck of the Lehigh realm, stepping into the first level of the waiting realm. Upon discovering my junior sister had obtained a heavenly grade divine weapon and awakened her sacred body, triggering a major breakthrough, a 100,000-fold critical return was activated. I felt a loud boom in my mind. The rewards on the system panel were so immense they nearly blinded me. Congratulations, host, for obtaining the peerless god-tier artifact, the ancient immortal execution sword. Congratulations, host, for successfully fusing with the primordial divine dragon bloodline. Congratulations, host. Your cultivation realm is surging forward with unstoppable momentum. Late-stage Marcus realm, peak Marcus realm, half-step sovereign realm, first-layer sovereign realm. Within my body, it felt as though an unbreakable shackle had been shattered. A wave of sovereign pressure, enough to make the very heavens and earth tremble, radiated uncontrollably from my body. Although I attempted to restrain it, the sheer intensity of the aura instantly tore through the fortified roof of the sword tomb, leaving a massive crater in its wake. The sect master and the various peak masters, who had just rushed to the entrance of the sword tomb, were crushed by this terrifying sovereign pressure, forced out of the sky and onto the ground. The elders and leaders, usually perched high above, were now scattered across the floor like discarded playthings, their faces ashen. A sovereign, a great sovereign expert. The sect master turned pale with shock, his entire body trembling. Since when did our Tianji sword sect harbor such a supreme transcendent sovereign? Inside the sword tomb, I hastily retracted every shred of my aura, feigning that nothing had occurred. Su Qinghan, having just completed her breakthrough, was overwhelmed with exhilaration. She turned around, just in time to see the high-ranking members of the sect struggling to push their way in. Sect master, elders. Su Qinghan stood there, momentarily bewildered. The sect master took one look and saw the phantom of an ice dragon behind Su Qinghan that had yet to fully dissipate. He drew in a sharp breath, his eyes widening with the predatory intensity of a wolf. The ice dragon's sacred body. It is truly the ice dragon's sacred body. Heavens have truly blessed our Tianji sword sect. Peak Master Shangli of the Sword Peak was the first to lunge forward. His aged face was flushed with fervor. Little girl, join my Shangli Peak immediately. I will accept you as my personal closed-door disciple and exhaust the resources of my entire peak to cultivate you. Nonsense. The Peak Master of the Medicinal Pill Peak hurriedly interjected. She is a young lady. She belongs in the Medicinal Pill Peak. I guarantee that within 5 years I will elevate her to the Marquis realm. No, she should join my Wanjian Peak. In an instant, these elders, who usually maintained the dignified air of immortals, were scrambling to claim the peerless genius Su Qinghan. They abandoned all decorum, bickering loudly in public, while completely ignoring both Gu Tianxing and myself. Gu Tianxing crawled out of the crater and, witnessing this scene, was so incensed that he spat out another mouthful of blood before fainting cold. This once vaunted #1 genius was now worth no more than a passing breeze. Just as the elders were locked in their endless squabble, I stepped forward, my voice calm, yet clearly audible to everyone present. Have you venerable elders grown so senile that you have lost your senses? My junior sister is now a member of our Kuyu Peak. As those words left my lips, the entire hall fell into a deathly silence. The gazes of every elder immediately turned toward me, sharp as blades. The master of Shangli Peak, already harboring a deep grudge because his own disciple, Li Yi, had been crippled, erupted in fury. You, a mere piece of trash with mortal bones, how dare you interfere in the decisions of the elders? That drunkard Shenxing Qiu, for her to raise such a peerless talent and keep her at Chuyu Peak is a complete waste of heaven's gifts. Lin Fan, if you have any sense, you will convince your junior sister to transfer to my sect. Before he could even finish his sentence, a wave of immense pressure, belonging to a half-step sovereign, descended upon him. Caught off guard, the master of Shangli Peak was instantly forced down, one knee crashing against the floor. And if I refuse, what then? A voice, languid yet chilling to the bone, echoed from the void above. Everyone looked up to see the space itself tearing apart. A woman of breathtaking beauty, clad in a crimson dress and barefoot, stepped out. It was my master. Shen Qingqiu held a flask of wine in her hand. Her exquisite face flushed with the faint hue of intoxication, yet her eyes, clear as the autumn waters, were ablaze with a towering, murderous intent. You old man, how dare you call me a drunkard? Shen Qingqiu let out a cold, sharp laugh. I have given you too much face. Shen Qingqiu's aura exploded without a hint of restraint, and crimson sword chi filled the heavens, weaving through the air and shattering the void into fragments. A half-step sovereign, the sect master's expression changed drastically. He hurriedly spoke. Junior sister, please calm your anger. Let us discuss this reasonably. Everyone here has only the future of the sect at heart. Shen Qingqiu showed no respect, her brows furrowed in rage. For the sake of the sect, you've come to rob me of my own disciple right before my eyes. Do you believe I won't level this entire mountain peak with a single strike? The hall was deathly silent. Everyone knew that Shen Qingqiu was a renowned madwoman, and if provoked, she would certainly make good on her threats. The sect master could only wipe the cold sweat from his brow and cast a desperate, pleading look towards Su Qinghan. Qinghan, you decide for yourself. Which peak you wish to join is entirely your choice. No one shall force you. Everyone present held their breath, their eyes fixed intently upon Su Qinghan. Anyone with a modicum of intelligence would choose the peak with the most abundant resources. Remaining at Kuyu Peak was nothing but a path to suffering. Yet Su Qinghan did not hesitate. She turned to look at me, a flicker of tenderness shining in her eyes. Then she declared clearly before everyone. Sectmaster, I, Su Qinghan, am a member of Kuyu Peak in life, and I shall remain its ghost in death. Apart from my senior brother and my the entire hall erupted into an uproar, while the sectmaster stomped his feet in sheer rage. Foolish girl, do not act blindly. That peak is so impoverished it doesn't even possess a spirit-gathering formation to strengthen the soul. How could it possibly nurture a saint physique? Hearing this, the peak mathev Changli Peak grew even more infuriated. What kind of bewitching potion has Lin Fan given you? He is nothing but a piece of trash who will only drag you down. Hearing someone call me a piece of trash, killing intent instantly erupted within Su Qinghan's eyes. She abruptly raised the dual 9 provinces sword in her hand, pointing it directly at the peak master of Changli Peak. Shut your mouth, old man. If my senior brother is trash, then all of you standing here do not even possess the qualifications to be the mud beneath his feet. Once again, the entire hall fell into a dead silence. Everyone believed that Su Qinghan had lost her mind. For the sake of protecting a senior brother with a mundane bone, she actually dared to publicly insult a peak master. Only I stood to the side, so deeply moved that I nearly shed tears. This sweet girl truly did not let my pampering go to waste. She has already begun to defy heaven and earth for my sake. Hearing this, Shen Qingqiu threw her head back and laughed out loud. Truly an arrogant girl. You are very much to this lady's liking, just for these words of yours. In the future within the Tianji sword sect, who would dare to bully you? This lady will exterminate their entire clan. Shen Qingqiu swept her sleeves, wrapping me and Su Qinghan within her energy as she tore through the void, departing with supreme arrogance, leaving behind a crowd of elders, their faces pale with shock, staring at one another in disbelief. Upon returning to Kuyi Peak, the moment Shen Qingqiu set foot on the ground, her previous domineering aura vanished instantly. Clutching her chest, she coughed violently, as a stream of dark blood trickled from the corner of her mouth. My expression shifted drastically, and I rushed forward to support her. Master, what is wrong? Su Qinghan also rushed over in deep anxiety. Shen Qingqiu waved her hand and wiped away the blood, letting out a bitter laugh. Just now, forcing the circulation of my true qi to put on a show aggravated the old injuries within my body. It is fine. An old injury? I frowned, quietly activating the system's divine inspection skill. Target, Shen Qingyu. Status, afflicted by the ancient water demon curse poison, which has penetrated deep into her bone marrow, and is on the verge of erupting. My heart turned cold with shock. To think that Master had been afflicted by such a terrifying curse poison. No wonder she spent her days drinking wine and sleeping. It turns out it was all to suppress the toxicity. Today, in order to protect her disciple, she forced herself to take action, causing the curse to erupt ahead of time. You two go and rest. Your master must enter secluded cultivation for a few days. Shen Qingqiu forced her weak body to endure as she staggered toward her immortal cave. Looking at her swaying figure from behind, a flicker of heartache and determination flashed across my eyes. Although Master usually appears indifferent toward me, at the critical moment, she risked her life to protect me. This debt of gratitude Lin Fan will surely repay. That night, in the dead of night when all was quiet, I avoided Su Qinghan and slipped into Master's immortal cave. The immortal cave was filled with a thick aura of death. Shen Qingqiu writhed in pain upon the white jade bed, her breathtakingly beautiful countenance now as pale as paper. Her exposed skin was covered in terrifying black demonic patterns. She was enduring a torment that ordinary mortals could scarcely fathom. Who is it? Shen Qingqiu's senses were incredibly sharp. She abruptly opened her eyes, and upon seeing it was me, she froze before weakly snapping, "Get out! Who permitted you to enter?" She did not want me to see her in a state that was neither human nor ghost. Saying nothing, I approached the bedside step by step. Rebellious disciple, do you not understand human speech? Get out. She tried to raise her hand to push me away, but she possessed not an ounce of strength. Completely ignoring her struggles, I firmly gripped her ice-cold wrist with one hand. "You wretched brat, how dare you be so insolent to your master?" Shen Qingqiu was just about to erupt in fury. In the next instant, a vast surge of sovereign true qi, supremely yang and absolutely pure, rushed like a turbulent ocean through my hand and forcefully poured into her body. Shen Qingqiu's entire body trembled violently, her eyes widening as she stared at me with an expression of utter disbelief. "This power, the sovereign realm, who on earth are you?" She was completely dumbfounded. The trash disciple with a mortal constitution whom she had raised for 3 years had suddenly unleashed an incredibly terrifying cultivation level in the dead of night, a shock grander than the collapsing of the heavens. "Master, say no more. Focus and guard your mind." Offering no explanation, I circulated the power within my body with full force and began to cleanse the demonic poison curse within her. The stubborn black demonic patterns that had tormented Shen Qingqiu for decades began to melt away like winter snow under a blazing summer sun the moment they encountered my sovereign true qi. The entire process was excruciatingly painful. Shen Qingqiu gritted her teeth, her entire body drenched in sweat, her soaked garments clung to her skin, accentuating her flawless curves. Yet, I harbored no stray thoughts at this moment. My own forehead was beaded with sweat as the process dragged on for 6 agonizing hours. Suddenly, Shen Qingqiu spewed up a mouthful of pitch black, foul-smelling toxic blood. Immediately afterward, the deathly aura within her vanished, replaced instead by a surging wave of vitality that not only dispelled the curse poison, but even turned misfortune into a blessing, causing her cultivation to break through from a half-step emperor directly into the early stage of the emperor realm. I let out a long sigh of relief and collapsed onto the ground, utterly exhausted. Having concluded her technique, Shen Qingqiu sat dazed upon the bed, feeling a sense of relief and a surging power within her body that she hadn't felt in a long time. She stared at me as if looking at a monster. After a long, profound silence, she suddenly sprang from the bed, grabbed my collar with one hand, and slammed me against the wall. Our faces were inches apart, so close that I could even feel her scorching breath. "Lin Fan, you bastard." Shen Qingqiu's eyes turned bloodshot as she gritted her teeth. "Do you find it amusing to play your master for a fool? An almighty emperor, yet you came to this wretched peak of mine to masquerade as a piece of trash all this time. What exactly is your conspiracy?" Looking at her breathtakingly beautiful face mere inches away, I caught the faint fragrance of a maiden intermingled with the scent of wine radiating from her. And swallowing hard, I gave a forced smile. "Master, please calm down. If I told you that I only attained this cultivation over the past few days, would you believe me? Only a fool would believe you." Shen Qingqiu completely ignored my explanation. Her gaze grew hazy as a dangerous, intoxicatingly seductive smile suddenly spread across her face. "Boy, regardless of what intentions you have in hiding your true strength, you have witnessed your master's disheveled state, and for that, you must pay a price." With those words, she suddenly tore open her own collar. Terrified, my face turned pale as I cried out, "Master, what are you doing?" "Shut your mouth. Today this lady will strip you bare, to see exactly what secrets are hidden within this body of yours." That night I was subjected to a brutal, thorough, full-body examination. Masked by her masterly authority, Shen Qingqiu essentially acted like a rogue, groping across my entire body to inspect my meridians and bone structure. By dawn, she was left utterly baffled. It was clearly still a mundane bone physique, so why were the meridians broader than even those of the primordial era? Stroking her chin, she pondered endlessly without an answer, while I sat huddled in the corner with disheveled clothes, crying tears of sheer helplessness. What on earth was this? I, a grand and powerful emperor, had actually been violated by my own master. "All right, stop looking like a mistreated daughter-in-law." Shen Qingqiu cast a glance at me, a brilliant light flashing deep within her eyes. "I will no longer pry into your secrets, but from this day forth, as the senior brother, you must shoulder the responsibility of Kuiyu Peak for me. If anyone dare, strike with all your might, hold nothing back." I adjusted my robes. I nodded solemnly. "You do not need to tell me. I would have done so regardless. After all, that is my treasure." Early the next morning, as I stepped out of my cultivation cave, I saw Su Qinghan pacing anxiously in the courtyard. Seeing me emerge, she hurried over, her nose suddenly twitching as she caught a scent. "Senior brother, why is there a strange fragrance upon you?" Su Qinghan furrowed her brows slightly, and a flash of bitterness unexpectedly crossed her exquisite face. My heart skipped a beat, but I forced a laugh. "Is there? It must be from last night. I was standing guard outside Master's cave, and it likely clung to me. Is there something you needed to discuss with me, junior sister?" Su Qinghan cast a suspicious glance at me but chose not to press the issue, instead speaking with gravity. "Senior brother, the intersect tournament is only 10 days away. The reward for the champion of this tournament is a 9-orifice barrier-breaking pill. That medicinal pill can not only cleanse the marrow and scour the meridians, but it even holds the chance to alter one's innate potential." Su Qinghan clenched her fists, her eyes filled with resolve. "Senior brother, rest assured, I will certainly secure the top position. I will win that pill for you so that you may change your constitution." Upon discovering that my junior sister had set such a lofty goal, side quest triggered. Assist junior sister in winning the top spot at the intersect tournament. Quest reward: access to the Heavenly Dao blind box. Hearing this, my heart leaped with joy. My good junior sister, you truly are sensible beyond measure. She gives her all for me, yet in the end, the system's critical rewards still return to me. A win-win situation such as this is truly perfection. However, I know all too well that the Intersect Tournament is a place where hidden dragons and crouching tigers gather. With Su Qinghan relying solely on her first-level essence condensation realm cultivation, I fear it will not be enough. It seems that in these 10 days I must provide her with a potent boost. A glint of light flashed in my eyes. Su Qinghan's heavenly inverse scale ability can in fact be used once every month to forcibly plunder one's destiny. Previously, because she was keeping a low profile to focus on her growth, she rarely utilized this heaven-defying power. Now that she has me, a supreme guardian, I can lead her all over the Tianji sword sect to farm opportunities. If she cannot overcome an opponent, I will simply cripple them first, allowing her to harvest their destiny. Thinking of such a scene, a wicked smile gradually spread across my face. Junior sister, I said, patting Su Qinghan's shoulder with a cryptic tone. Junior sister, follow your senior brother. We are going to do something truly exhilarating. Su Qinghan stood stunned. Where are we going? I pointed toward Shangli Peak. A devilish smile crept across my face. We are going to their lair, to plunder every resource within their treasury. Su Qinghan's eyes widened, robbing the treasury of Shangli Peak, a place guarded by 7 elders at the peak of the transformation realm. Senior brother, have you lost your mind? Yet as she looked into my deep, unwavering eyes, the passion within Su Qinghan could not help but surge. She gritted her teeth and unsheathed the Qingshuanghan Zhuzhou sword. I led Su Qinghan as we walked brazenly along the mountain path leading to Shangli Peak. The mountain breeze fluttered the hem of her white robes. Her hand, gripping the Qingshuanghan Zhuzhou sword, was slick with a thin layer of sweat. Senior brother Shangli Peak possesses the deepest foundation of the Tianji sword sect. Are we not taking too great a risk by charging in like this? Though Su Qinghan possessed the pride of an empress, her cultivation was currently only at the first level of the transformation realm. Facing Shangli Peak, which was defended by countless ancient monsters, it was inevitable that she would feel uneasy, unlike me, who walked ahead without even turning my head back. With both hands clasped behind my neck and a stalk of dogtail grass hanging from my lips, I walked with an arrogant devil-may-care stride. What is there to fear? With your senior brother here, even if the heavens collapse, I will hold them up for you. Today, we are not here to steal. We are simply here to collect your early reward from the grand tournament. This is what one calls reasonable and lawful compensation. Do you understand what mental trauma compensation is? Su Qinghan was left speechless, completely dazed. Mental trauma compensation. What kind of peerless cultivation technique is that? Before they knew it, the two of them had arrived before the majestic mountain gate of Shangli Peak. 2 massive stone lions carved from white jade exuded an air of solemn authority. Before the gate, over a dozen elite inner disciples stood guard, their hands resting on heavy swords. Seeing us walk brazenly toward them, the lead disciple guarding the mountain immediately drew his long sword. Halt! Shangli Peak is a restricted area. Unauthorized personnel and dogs are forbidden from entering. Especially regarding the lot of you criminals from Kuyu Peak. I didn't even bother to glance at them, let alone pause my stride. Su Qinghan's gaze turned frigid. She prepared to draw her Hanzhuzhou sword, intending to force her way through. I placed a firm hand upon her shoulder to hold her back. Junior sister, to deal with such trivial nuisances, there is no need for excessive violence. Watch your senior brother. I drew a deep, steady breath. Channeling my energy into my dantian, I roared at the dozen disciples guarding the mountain pass. Begone. Within that shout, I had secretly infused a sliver of the pressure belonging to the king of Zhao. To Su Qinghan, it sounded merely like a loud shout from an ordinary man. But to the ears of those dozen mountain-guarding disciples, it was as if a 9 heavens thunderbolt had detonated deep within their very souls. Before those arrogant intersect elites could even let out a shrill cry, their eyes rolled back in unison, and they began to foam at the mouth, swept away like fallen leaves caught in a gale. They were sent flying backwards several hundred meters, slamming into the stone steps behind the mountain gate, piling up into a heap of bodies. Su Qinghan was struck speechless. She looked at her own hands in astonishment, then back at me. Senior brother, what exactly did you just do? I shrugged, assuming an expression of utter innocence. I did nothing at all. Perhaps I am simply so handsome that it caused them to faint. Su Qinghan's face darkened with frustration, thinking to herself that it could not possibly be that simple. Her senior brother clearly possessed no fluctuations of true qi. Yet in that brief moment, he had undoubtedly touched upon some profoundly mysterious law of the heavens and earth. The great Tao is simplistic, and the loudest sound is formless. Could it be that senior brother's cultivation realm has reached the level of wordly decree? At this thought, the look Su Qinghan leveled at me grew increasingly reverent, even tinged with a hint of fervent adoration. System. Detected that the junior sister has developed blind admiration for the host. Favorability increased by 5. Current favorability is 52. Hearing the system notification chime in my mind, my heart soared with joy. This girl is truly easy to deceive. Let us proceed to their treasury to claim our goods. I waved my hand, leading Su Qinghan straight inside. Shangli Peak is truly worthy of being called the premier peak. Along the way, exotic flowers and rare herbs were countless, and the spiritual energy was so dense it was nearly tangible. We arrived at the restricted area behind Shangli Peak, the Xuanwu Spirit Vault. It was a massive palace constructed entirely from black obsidian. The great doors were tightly sealed, covered in In front of the palace, 7 white-haired elders sat cross-legged. The aura of these 7 men was as deep as the ocean, and they were all at the peak of the transformation realm. At this moment, they opened their eyes simultaneously, and 7 streams of tangible killing intent immediately locked onto us. What kind of madman dares to barge into the forbidden grounds of Shangli Peak? The Great Elder, leading the group, roared with a voice like a bronze bell, causing the surrounding leaves to rustle and fall. Su Qinghan's expression changed drastically. 7 masters at the peak of the transformation realm. Even if she unleashed her ice dragon's sacred body, there was no way she could withstand so many opponents at once. Senior brother, we are in trouble this time. We must retreat immediately. Su Qinghan instinctively shielded me, attempting to protect me as we withdrew. Looking at her slender yet resolute back, a wave of warmth surged within my heart. This young girl was clearly terrified to the point of trembling, yet her first reaction was to protect her senior brother. Someone who appeared to have no cultivation at all. For this reason alone today, this Shangli Peak shall be picked clean. I patted Su Qinghan on the shoulder and pulled her behind me. Junior sister, remember what your senior brother says. A truly powerful person never turns around to look at the explosion. Go, close your eyes and walk 10 paces forward. I guarantee they will not be able to touch a single hair on your head. Su Qinghan was stunned. To walk forward with her eyes closed, was this not simply courting death? But looking into the bottomless depth of my eyes, she found herself inexplicably nodding in agreement. Very well, I trust you, senior brother. She truly closed her beautiful eyes, gripped her long sword, and took step after step toward the 7 transformation realm elders, appearing arrogant and suicidal to the extreme. The 7 elders were naturally infuriated. When had they ever suffered such an insult? A golden-haired girl who had just entered the transformation realm dared to provoke them with her eyes closed. Initiate the killing formation. The great elder shouted, and as the 7 of them formed seals simultaneously, 7 massive blazing swords, dozens of meters long, condensed in the sky, carrying a terrifying might capable of boiling the seas and scorching the earth, as they struck directly toward Su Qinghan. Su Qinghan felt the scorching heat that threatened to destroy heaven and earth. Her body trembled slightly, but she bit her lip hard, refusing to retreat a single step, just as the 7 massive blazing swords were about to strike, turning Su Qinghan into dust. Standing behind her, I calmly flicked my finger, and at this soft light sound, the vast and boundless kingly energy within my body transformed into an invisible wave, instantly sweeping across the entire field. The 7 massive flaming swords, surging with boundless might, were gripped as if by the unseen, colossal hand of an ancient primordial being, shattering mid-air into a rain of sparks that filled the sky. The spectacle did not end there. The invisible shockwave descended directly upon the 7 elders. Huh! The 7 high and mighty elders simultaneously spewed a mouthful of fresh blood, feeling as though 100,000 heavy mountains had suddenly crushed down upon their spines. Crack! A series of sickening sounds rang out as their knee bones shattered. These 7 elders at the peak of the transformation stage could not resist, simultaneously kneeling before Su Qinghan, causing the black obsidian floor to crater into 7 deep pits. Terrified, they looked up as if beholding a demon god, staring at Su Qinghan as she approached with her eyes closed. What kind of dark sorcery have you used? The first elder was scared out of his wits, his entire body drenched in cold sweat. After taking 10 steps, Su Qinghan slowly opened her eyes. When she saw the 7 high and mighty elders kneeling at her feet and coughing up blood, she was utterly stunned. How could this be? She hadn't even made a move. Just then, the heavenly mandate reverse scale on her forehead suddenly grew scorching hot, erupting in a blood-red light as a massive torrent of karmic fortune was forcibly extracted from the 7 elders, surging frantically into Su Qinghan's body. Su Qinghan realized in an instant it was the heavenly mandate reverse scale. This was the supreme divine ability of the reverse scale, to forcibly plunder the karmic fortune of others. Under the crushing weight of such absolute fortune, the 7 elders could not withstand the backlash of the heavenly Tao and were forced to their knees. She was overjoyed, gaining a completely new understanding of the heavenly mandate reverse scale's power, while I, standing behind her, nearly burst out laughing. Heavenly mandate reverse scale, indeed? It was clearly my king's pressure that had ground them into the dirt. But since she had convinced herself it was the effect of a cheat item, I couldn't be bothered to explain. Su Qinghan looked down at the 7 elders, the majesty of an empress radiating from her. Open the gate or die. The first elder no longer possessed his earlier arrogance. Under this terrifying pressure, he could only tremble and surrender the jade token required to open the treasury. Su Qinghan took the jade token and turned to look at me, as excited as a little girl receiving a sweet. Senior brother, I did it. Let us go inside. I smiled and reached out to pat her head. Well done. Everything today is covered by Shangli Feng. Please, help yourself. As the treasury doors rumbled open, an intense wave of medicinal fragrance and spiritual energy rushed forth to greet them. It is truly worthy of being the foundation of the first peak. Inside the vault, treasures shimmered with radiant light, and rare spiritual herbs drifted across the shelves. There were high-level cultivation manuals and mountains of top-grade spirit stones. Su Qinghan's eyes lit up. Without a hint of hesitation, she produced her storage bag and began to sweep the room clean. Everywhere she passed, it was as if a swarm of locusts had descended. Not even a blade of grass remained. When she reached the depths of the treasury, her footsteps suddenly halted before a jade box, protected by layers of intricate formations. Resting silently within was a piece of azure bone marrow, emitting an aura of extreme frost. It was the 9 heavens profound ice phoenix bone marrow. Su Qinghan's voice trembled. This was a divine object so rare that it could reshape the very marrow of a frost dragon bloodline. It is unlikely that another such treasure could be found across the entire northern wasteland continent. To think that Shanghai Feng had hidden such a divine artifact away. Without a moment's hesitation, she shattered the formation, grasping the icy azure bone marrow in her hand, sensing a surge of power that resonated perfectly with her own bloodline. She was so moved that her eyes turned red. With this, I will certainly be able to crush all opposition in the intersect tournament. Senior brother, once I claim first place and obtain the 9 apertures soul-dissolving elixir, you will finally be saved. Detection. Junior sister has obtained the peerless fortuitous encounter, 9 heavens profound ice phoenix bone marrow, activating 100,000-fold crit return. Congratulations to the host. You have received 1 drop of primordial ancestral dragon origin essence blood. Congratulations to the host. Your physical realm has broken through to the first level of the myriad tribulations indestructible body. Standing at the entrance of the treasury, I suddenly felt a surge of ancient violent power erupt within my body, a drop of essence blood radiating a golden chaotic light, coursing through my meridians. Everywhere it flowed, my bones and meridians shimmered with brilliant golden light, as if they were being reforged anew. My physical strength skyrocketed with wild intensity. Now, even without utilizing any internal energy, a single punch from my physical body alone could shatter a massive mountain into dust. Amazing. So this is the feeling of carrying my junior sister to greatness. I suppressed the urge to look up at the heavens and let out a long roar. I called out to Su Qinghan, who was still busy looting. Junior sister, that is enough. Leave them at least. We shall return another time. Su Qinghan patted her bulging storage bag with satisfaction, following behind me as we swaggered out of the treasury. The 7 elders standing outside stared at the hollowed-out treasury, so incensed that their blood pressure surged, causing them to collapse in unison. By the time we returned to Kuyu Peak, it was twilight, and the setting sun had bathed the mountain peak in a deep crimson glow. From the spoils of our plunder, I selected several thousand-year-old spirit ginsengs and a few caddies of beast meat, then rolled up my sleeves and headed into the kitchen. Today was a resounding victory, and a grand feast was required to reward our key contributor. Before long, a rich, intoxicating aroma drifted from the kitchen, enough to make anyone's mouth water. These were no ordinary dishes. I treated thousand-year-old spirit ginseng like radishes and used high-level spirit beast meat as if it were common pork. The spiritual energy contained within this meal was sufficient to make an ordinary cultivator explode and perish on the spot. It smells divine. What is that scent? A lazy, drowsy voice drifted over from the direction of the immortal cave. Shen Qingqiu rubbed her sleepy eyes, emerging in a red gown that revealed a patch of snow-white skin, her feet bare against the ground. Ever since I purged the demonic curse from her, not only has her cultivation base surged, but her entire aura has become even more enchanting and alluring, like a ripe, honeyed peach. Master, you've awakened at the perfect moment. Wash your hands and let us eat. I carried out a large basin of braised spirit ginseng meat. Upon seeing the dishes on the table, Shen Qingqiu's eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. 1,000-year blood ginseng and the meat of a 3rd-rank, peak-stage, snowfeather eagle? You little brat, just where did you pillage these from? These were all treasures belonging to that old man at Shangli Peak. I chuckled. Master, you jest. This is merely the compensation for emotional distress that junior sister earned through her own strength. Su Qinghan stepped out from her room, having changed into a clean, azure-colored gown, looking cold and ethereal. She caught sight of Shen Qingqiu and bowed respectfully. Master. Shen Qingqiu seated herself naturally at the table, using her fingers to grab a piece of meat and popping it into her mouth, speaking indistinctly. Forget those tedious formalities, sit down quickly. This brat's culinary skills are 10,000 times better than the head chef of the Tianshang restaurant. The 3 of us gathered around the stone table in the courtyard. Though the dishes were simple, the atmosphere was immensely warm. Shen Qingqiu drank wine while vying with me for the meat, showing not a hint of an elder's decorum. Beside us, Su Qinghan chewed slowly and deliberately, yet the speed at which she moved her chopsticks was far from sluggish. I looked at the 2 of them, one a stunning beauty with a fiery temperament, the other as cold as an immortal, yet warm-hearted beneath her icy exterior, and suddenly felt that the lonely, grueling days of my past life seemed like a distant memory. With a master to shelter me and a junior sister to guide my ascension, this is the true life of an immortal. This is my home. Eat your fill and rest well. Shen Qingqiu lingered for a moment, her eyes hazy as she gazed at Su Qinghan. Little girl, today you seized the treasure of Shangli Peak. That old man Hu Tianxing will undoubtedly seek out the sectmaster Bak Liu. But do not fear. With me here they will not dare to make a single move. What you must do now is enter seclusion and absorb that 9 heavens profound ice phoenix marrow. In 10 days, during the intersect grand competition, I want you to strike them hard and humiliate them. Su Qinghan nodded with a resolute gaze. This disciple will certainly not betray the expectations of master and senior brother. Night had fallen, and the moonlight cascaded like water over the verdant moon peak. Su Qinghan returned to her room, sat cross-legged, and brought out the 9 heavens profound ice phoenix marrow, which radiated a terrifying chill. She took a deep breath, circulated the Qingfeng technique, and began to slowly draw the power within the marrow into her body. However, she had underestimated the domineering nature of this ancient, exotic bone marrow. The moment that surge of extreme cold energy entered her meridians, a sudden disaster occurred. The ice dragon bloodline within Su Qinghan's body, usually docile, reacted like an emperor being provoked. It suddenly erupted with a violently repelling force. The two distinct extreme cold powers transformed into two ferocious beasts inside her body, beginning to tear at one another madly. Su Qinghan let out a miserable cry. Her beautiful face instantly twisted in agony. A streak of fresh blood trickled from the corner of her mouth. Before it could even hit the ground, it froze into a red ice bead. Her body was being encased in a thick layer of ice at a speed visible to the naked eye. The terrifying cold instantly froze the entire room into an icy cavern. The very space surrounding her seemed on the verge of being frozen solid. What was even more terrifying was that this extreme pain and the clash of the two forces struck directly at the memories hidden in the depths of her soul that she least wished to face. In her past life in the Nine Heavens' profound realm, surrounded by 10,000 gods, the lieutenant she trusted most had stabbed her through the heart from behind. The fresh blood that dyed the Nine Heavens terrace red, those cold, greedy eyes and those vicious sneers flooded her mind like a tide. I cannot die here, I must have my revenge. Su Qinghan's soul screamed in desperate agony. Yet her physical body could no longer withstand the tearing of these two violent forces. Her meridians began to shatter inch by inch, and her life force was rapidly fading. At this critical moment of life and death, with a loud crash, the door to her room was kicked open by a surge of overwhelming power. I rushed in, wearing thin robes, my expression grave and stern. Seeing Su Qinghan on the verge of becoming a lifeless ice sculpture, my heart constricted and an indescribable sharp pain surged within me. Junior, sister. Su Qinghan struggled to open eyes covered in frost. Seeing me approach, she summoned her final remnants of strength to let out a hoarse, defiant cry. Do not come any closer, senior brother. Leave quickly. This cold chi will freeze you as well. She would rather suffer a violent death than implicate me, her senior brother. In her eyes, I am but a mortal with no cultivation. Foolish girl, when has Lin Fan ever hidden behind the back of a woman? Without a moment's hesitation, I stepped forward and pulled Su Qinghan, now nearly a block of ice, into a tight embrace. Kiss that terrifying, profound ice-cold chi surged into me madly, as if intent on freezing my very soul. Yet I gritted my teeth and did not retreat a single step. The system released the power of the primordial ancestral dragon's origin blood essence for me. I roared internally as the dark golden blood essence within my body boiled violently, and a flow of the primordial ancestral dragon chi, supreme in its yang and hardness, burst forth from my body, domineering over the heavens and the earth. I placed my right hand upon Su Qinghan's back, continuously channeling the pure ancestral dragon essence into her body. The moment this power entered Su Qinghan's frame, the ice dragon bloodline and the profound ice phoenix bone marrow, which had been frantically tearing at each other, recoiled as if encountering the most terrifying sovereign in existence, and fell silent instantly. How overbearing was the ancestral dragon's chi. It swept through like a bamboo split by a blade, forcefully crushing those two powers, merging them into one before nourishing the meridians that had been shattered inch by inch within Su Qinghan. Throughout this process, I endured the alternating torture of extreme cold and extreme heat, yet I held her firmly, my chin resting against her forehead. I spoke in a voice both gentle and resolute. Do not fear, Qinghan, for I am here now. Those who have harmed you, your senior brother, will lead you to slay them one by one in the days to come. The memories of the past are dead. From now on, I am your kin. Su Qinghan, upon hearing those words that stirred the very depths of her soul, the loneliness, hatred, and despair harbored within her were in that instant entirely dispelled by a touch of warm light. For centuries, across this life and the last, she had endured the solitude alone, with never a soul to speak these words to her. Do not be afraid, I am here for everything. 2 lines of hot tears traced down her cheeks, melting the icy frost that had long hardened upon her face. She gripped my robes tightly, like a lost child who had finally found their way home, sobbing uncontrollably against my chest. Senior brother, I am in so much pain, I am so lonely. I patted her back gently. It is all right, let it all out. From now on, you have your master and your senior brother. This is your home. In the biting cold of the winter night, our hearts were drawn together. I realized that my junior sister had finally opened her heart completely, forging a bond of life and death that would never be severed. Her favorability rating reached 100, reaching the supreme star level, triggering a 10,000-fold critical affection return. Congratulations to the host for acquiring the special divine ability, Life-Death Resonance Array. Congratulations to the host for your soul realm advancing to the earth realm. Congratulations to the host for your cultivation, breaking through to the peak of the king realm, a half step into the earth realm. A massive storm of realizations surged through my mind. Yet at that moment, I had no heart to concern myself with the system's rewards, choosing only to hold the sleeping maiden in my arms until the break of dawn. After that night of shared life and death, Su Qinghan found a blessing in disguise, successfully fusing with the profound ice phoenix marrow. Her cultivation soared like a rocket, shooting up to the 6th level of the transformation peak realm. With only a few days remaining until the grand tournament, she seemed like a different person, shedding the icy, aloof demeanor that kept others at bay. Every time she saw me, she wore a sweet smile. A smile so radiant it would make the flowers wither in shame, and she even took the initiative to light the fire and cook for me like a devoted wife. Seeing this, Shen Qingqiu clicked his tongue in admiration, immediately picking up his wine gourd to tease us. Oh, why is our little ice mountain beauty from Kuyu Peak finally thawed? Someone has truly been blessed with immense good fortune. Even I, as your master, find myself envious. Whenever Shen Qingqiu spoke in such a manner, Su Qinghan would blush and lower her head, while I merely accepted it with a thick skin. Time passed in the blink of an eye, and the once-in-a-decade intersect grand tournament of the Yanji Sword Sect officially commenced. On that day, the bells of the Tianji Sword Sect resonated far and wide as tens of thousands of inner and outer sect disciples gathered at the main Peak's martial arts arena. Upon the white jade viewing platform suspended in the air, the sect master and the various peak masters were already in attendance, though the 7 elders of Shangli Peak were notably absent, having claimed illness, which stirred the crowd into a flurry of whispers and speculation. Only the sect master and Shen Qingqiu were fully aware of the truth. The rules of the grand competition are simple. Participants draw lots and face off in the arena. The victors advance until the champion is determined. The grand prize is the legendary 9 orifices heaven-defying pill, said to have the power to alter one's destiny against the heavens. The seating for Kuiyu Peak was tucked away in the most obscure corner, but I cared not for such things. I set up a recliner and laid back comfortably. Beside me, Shen Qingqiu was leisurely sipping wine. Su Qinghan sat nearby, peeling grapes for me. This scene, falling into the eyes of disciples from other peaks, drew a mountain of resentment. Is that not the useless Lin Fan? How does he have the audacity to participate in the grand competition? Relying on a woman to provide for him, he is a disgrace to all men. I heard Su Qinghan plundered the treasury of Shangli Peak. Today she will surely be targeted relentlessly. Malicious jeers erupted from the crowd. Just then, a gaze filled with deep-seated hatred pierced through from the opposite stands. It was Gu Tianxing who had recovered from most of his injuries. He stared fixedly at the Qingsong Hangzhuzhou sword in Su Qinghan's hand, his eyes burning with frantic killing intent. Lin Fan, Su Qinghan, today in the arena, life and death are of no consequence. I will make you suffer endless humiliation before you die. The grand competition officially began. The initial rounds were unremarkable, but as soon as Su Qinghan took the stage, the atmosphere of the entire plaza reached a fever pitch. Su Qinghan's opponent was an elite disciple from Wanjian Peak, a cultivator at the 2nd level of the transformation stage. The man leered at Su Qinghan's exquisite features, a glint of malice in his eyes. Junior sister Su, fists and swords have no eyes. If you concede now and call me a good brother, I will ensure that I do not mar your beautiful face. Su Qinghan's expression remained indifferent. She did not even draw her sword, merely uttering 4 cold words. Filthy, you seek death. As she spoke, she raised her delicate hand and swept it forward. A violent glacial storm suddenly erupted. The elite disciple of Wanjian Peak had no time to react, and in a heartbeat he was frozen into a statue of ice. Su Qinghan then flicked her finger. The ice statue was sent flying off the arena, crashing heavily to the ground, leaving the entire arena in stunned silence. An instant kill, another instant kill. What exactly is her cultivation level? She defeated a 2nd-level transformation expert without even drawing her blade. The sect master seated on the high platform felt a flash of astonishment in his eyes. Her ice attribute true energy is truly terrifying. This girl has not only fully mastered her saint body, but she has even forged a path entirely her own. I remained on my recliner, chewing on a grape with satisfaction. Naturally, she is formidable. I have spent these past few nights offering her plenty of extra guidance. I have been covertly imparting the combat insights of the Emperor realm, obtained through the system, via our dual cultivation. By transmitting these teachings through our physical connection, rather than mere words, the subsequent matches became a personal stage for Su Qinghan. Whether it was the elites of Shangli Peak or the prodigies of Lingyao Peak, none could withstand even a single strike from her Qingzhou sword. She was like an invincible ice-cold warrior, crushing all opposition as she surged into the finals. And her opponent in the final match was exactly as I had anticipated. The first disciple of Shangli Peak, Gu Tianxing, who stood upon the final arena brimming with repressed fury. The winds and clouds shifted in response to his presence. Gu Tianxing's white robes fluttered without a breeze, and his aura was even more potent than when we were in the sword mound, having reached the terrifying 8th layer of the transformation realm. Su Qinghan, hand over the Hanjuzhou sword. Kneel and kowtow to offer your apology to me. Otherwise, this arena shall become your burial ground today. Gu Tianxing's voice was as venomous as a demon crawling out from the depths of hell. Su Qinghan slowly drew her long sword, pointing the tip directly at Gu Tianxing. If you wish to fight, then fight. Stop your idle chatter, or I shall kill you. Gu Tianxing let out a thunderous roar, his hands moving frantically to weave seals. Instead of using a sword, he pulled a black orb from his robes that emitted an aura of extreme malevolence. The moment that orb appeared, the sky above the entire training ground darkened instantly, and a demonic energy that made one's very soul tremble surged toward the heavens. Myriad soul-devouring array consume. Gu Tianxing crushed the black orb. In an instant, thousands upon thousands of grieving spirits and vengeful ghosts erupted frantically from the orb, forming a black cloud that blotted out the sky and covered the earth, completely engulfing Su Qinghan within it. This is bad. It is a forbidden demonic artifact. The sect master on the high platform stood up abruptly, his expression shifting violently. Gu Tianxing, you dare to collude with the demonic race and utilize such an atrocious soul-forsaking demonic weapon? Gu Tianxing laughed maniacally. As long as I can kill her, what does it matter if I become a demon? This myriad soul-devouring array is capable of trapping even a prince-level cultivator. Su Qinghan, remain within the darkness and suffer until you are torn apart by 10,000 ghosts. Within the black clouds, the cold she struggled to defend herself, but this demonic energy was extraordinarily sinister. It was actually capable of corroding her true chi. Her complexion grew paler with each passing moment. The frost dragon barrier protecting her also began to show cracks. Seeing this, my gaze turned ice cold. Gu Tianxing, you are courting death. I rose to my feet, my robes billowing despite the lack of wind. Just as I prepared to unleash my half-step Emperor Realm cultivation and reduce Gu Tianxing and those vengeful spirits to ash with a single strike, a sudden calamity occurred. The sky, previously choked by demonic energy, was abruptly torn open by a 10,000-foot-long golden rift. A terrifying pressure, transcending all mortal beings, poured from the crack, forcing everyone present to kneel against their will. The grand protective formation of the entire Tianji sword sect collapsed instantly. The sect master and the peak masters were pinned directly to the ground by this overwhelming pressure, unable to move. Gu Tianxing's myriad soul-devouring array dissolved beneath this golden light as easily as snow melting under the scorching sun. Those vengeful spirits shrieked in agony before vanishing into dust. What is happening? What has occurred? Everyone looked up in terror, toward the golden rift, tearing through the heavens. Deep within the fissure, a colossal golden decree slowly manifested. Radiating from the decree was the supreme celestial might of the nine heavens' profound realm. A cold, majestic voice, devoid of any emotion, emanated from the decree, echoing across the entire northern wilderness continent. By the order of the nine heavens God Venerable, an aura of remnant heresy has been detected in the northern wilderness of the lower realm. The emissaries of the God realm are ordered to descend. Uproot everything, leave not a single blade of grass behind. As this voice resonated, Su Qinghan, having just escaped the demonic array, felt her fragile body tremble, and for the first time her exquisite face displayed raw fear and utter despair. She stared fixedly at that golden decree, biting her lip until it bled. The nine heavens God Venerable, it is him. How could he have discovered my reincarnation so quickly? At that very moment, the system in my mind emitted a shrill, unprecedented warning. Warning, warning. An existence from the upper realm, whose name must not be spoken, is forcibly interfering with the laws of the lower realm. Warning. The host's junior sister has been marked for absolute extermination. The system's defensive mechanisms are on the verge of collapse. Host is advised to flee this world immediately. I looked up at the high and mighty golden decree, feeling Su Qinghan shivering from head to toe. Rather than choosing to flee, I reached out and took her hand, a cold, arrogant smile curling at the corner of my lips. So what if it is the nine heavens God Venerable? So what if it is an emissary from the upper realm? You dare touch my woman, and I care not if you are a god. Today I will drag you down from the heavens, even as the system screams incessantly within my mind. Host, you must flee. That is an avatar of a higher realm deity. With your current cultivation at the half-step Emperor realm, a direct confrontation will surely lead to your demise. I suggest you immediately utilize the random teleportation talisman to escape this world. I roared within my heart, shut your mouth. I care not what god he is. Whoever touches my junior sister will suffer a fate worse than death. I gripped Su Qinghan's icy, delicate hand, continuously channeling the warmth of my ancestral dragon chi into her body. Su Qinghan looked up at me, her beautiful eyes filled with utter despair. Senior brother, please, let me go. That is a manifestation sent by the deity, at least at the true immortal realm. We cannot possibly win. You must go. I reached out and flicked her forehead gently, causing her to cry out and clutch her fair brow. I looked at her with a stern gaze and said, you foolish girl, whether we can win or not is something we only know after we fight. As your senior brother, I have promised. Even if the sky falls, I will hold it up for you. Today, even the heavenly king himself must wait his turn to be beaten by me. At that very moment, the golden rift in the sky was torn completely asunder. A golden phantom, standing 100 jang tall, stepped slowly from within. It was a man clad in purple gold divine armor, his entire being radiating a terrifying celestial might that caused the very heavens and earth to tremble. He surveyed the training arena as if looking down upon mere specks of dust, and finally his gaze locked firmly onto Su Qinghan. His voice resonated like the rumbling of 10,000 thunderclaps. Rebellious god, you actually chose to reincarnate into such a lowly, wretched world. Surrender the origin of your imperial vein, and this messenger might deign to show mercy and allow your soul to be annihilated, sparing you from further torment. This haughty, overbearing tone infuriated me. The elders and disciples of the entire Tianji sword sect had already been pinned to the ground by this celestial pressure, vomiting blood uncontrollably. Even the sect master lay there with his bones shattered, unable to move a muscle. In the entire arena, only Su Qinghan and I remained standing. I pulled Su Qinghan behind me, tilted my head to look up at that posturing figure, and after cleaning my ear, I shouted, you, dressed like a nouveau riche clown from the heavens. What are you howling about so early in the morning? Do you have any shred of decency at all? Are you unaware that today is the day of our sect's internal grand tournament? As these words left his lips, the disciples sprawled upon the ground, collectively gasped, a chill running down their spines. Had Lin Fan truly lost his mind? That was a deity from the upper realm, yet he dared to insult a god as a fool. The golden-armored envoy was visibly stunned, as if, in all his tens of thousands of years, no one had ever dared to speak to him in such a manner. He lowered his head, casting a cold gaze upon me. To him, I was merely an ant of the lower realms. Yet, I had managed to withstand his divine might and remain standing. Nevertheless, an ant remains an ant. If you seek death, this envoy shall grant your wish with the divine heaven-punishing finger. The golden-armored envoy slowly extended a finger, radiating an aura of utter destruction, pressing it gently towards Su Qinghan and me. In that instant, the very heavens seemed to collapse. A A force of indescribable terror manifested into a pillar that spanned the sky, carrying the crushing weight of the laws of the heavens as it plummeted downward. Before such power, even a half-step Emperor Realm cultivator felt as fragile as paper. The system flickered with frantic red warnings, signaling a lethal strike. I let out a cold laugh and pushed Su Qinghan away with one hand. With a forceful stomp, the white jade floor of the training arena shattered instantly beneath my feet. My body surged forward like an arrow piercing the current, hurtling directly toward that colossal finger descending from the heavens. Myriad Kalpa Undying Body activate, primordial ancestral dragon essence ignite. The blood within my veins roared like a dragon, shaking the very earth, while dense golden Tao patterns manifested across the surface of my bones. I did not rely on any flamboyant weaponry. I gathered the entirety of my physical strength and the true chi of my half-step Emperor cultivation into my right fist, and launched a strike directly at the descending finger of the deity. The two forces collided in mid-air. There was no earth-shattering explosion as one might expect, only a deathly silence. Then, centered at the point of impact, space itself cracked like a shattered mirror. Pitch-black spatial turbulence surged forth in a frenzy. Under the eyes of the horrified onlookers, my fist had actually shattered that divine heaven-punishing finger. The violent recoil surged through the void, striking the golden armored envoy squarely in the chest. The golden armored envoy roared as his massive illusory projection was forced back 3 steps in mid-air, each step crushing the void beneath his feet. Impossible, this is absolutely impossible. For the first time, astonishment flickered in the eyes of the golden armored envoy. How can an ant of the lower realms possess a physical body comparable to that of a primordial vicious? I shook my slightly numbed arm, hovering in mid-air as I looked down at him with cold indifference. I am your elder boy. What you just witnessed was merely the warm-up. Now it is my turn. I was just about to summon the Jushian ancient sword to deliver a heaven-shaking strike. Yet an unexpected turn of events occurred at that very moment. The golden armored envoy, having been repelled by me, was now completely enraged. Such an arrogant soul from the lower realm, daring to harm an avatar of the divine. If that is how it will be, then let this entire continent be buried alongside you. Heavenly Tao, grant me the authority to execute. The golden armored envoy clasped his hands before his chest, and suddenly a massive blood-colored celestial disk appeared in the sky, stretching across 10,000 miles. The disk began to rotate slowly, unleashing an irresistible gravitational force. The peaks of the Tianji sword sect began to collapse, and countless disciples shrieked in agony as they were pulled into the disk, instantly reduced to blood and bone. The center of that disk locked its focus firmly onto Su Qinghan. An overwhelming force of the heavenly laws descended, enveloping Su Qinghan entirely. Senior brother, save me. Su Qinghan's body flew helplessly toward the celestial disk. Against the laws of the upper realm, her ice dragon saint physique possessed not even a shred of resistance. My eyes felt as though they would burst. Just as I moved to rescue her, I discovered that the space around me had been locked down by 12 streaks of immortal energy unleashed by the golden armored envoy. Even with my invincible physical body, it would take me 3 breaths of time to break free. But in a battle of this caliber, Su Qinghan did not even have 1 breath to spare. It was over, just as my heart seemed to stop. A streak of crimson sword light, beautiful to the point of extremity, surged from the direction of Kuyu Peak and pierced the heavens. It was a life-bound flying sword, burning with a fierce intensity, carrying an aura of absolute determination, treating death as lightly as a feather, as it struck directly into the restrictive force that held Su Qinghan captive. Get out of my way. A familiar, peerlessly beautiful silhouette appeared in the mid-air. It was my master. Her entire body was ablaze with blinding blood-colored flames, and even her dark hair had turned a stark, snowy white. Master, Su Qinghan cried out in astonishment. Shen Qingqiu did not turn back. She unleashed the entirety of her imperial realm cultivation, and even went as far as to burn her own soul and life essence, transforming into an insurmountable wall of sword intent. She forcefully blocked the suction of the celestial disk and with one hand pushed Su Qinghan, who was suspended in midair, directly toward me. Su Qinghan collapsed heavily onto the ground. Meanwhile, Shen Qingqiu's body, crushed beneath the terrifying pressure of the heavenly Tao's manifestation, began to shatter into fragments. Do you truly think a creature as degenerate as you is worthy of laying a hand on my disciple? Shen Qingqiu vomited mouthful after mouthful of fresh blood, yet her spine remained straight, her exquisite face still bearing an expression of indomitable arrogance. You court death. The golden armored envoy let out a cold snort, and the power exerted by the celestial wheel increased instantly. The life-bound flying sword in Shen Qingqiu's hand emitted a mournful cry before disintegrating into fine powder. Her body fell from the air like a withered leaf torn from its branch. In the moment she closed her eyes, she looked toward me, trapped within the spatial chains, her lips curling into a faint, warm smile. You little fool, it has always been you protecting your martial sister. Today your master has finally fulfilled her duty. From now on, Kuyu Peak is in your hands. Do not let me down. Master Su Qinghan sobbed bitterly on the ground. While I stood suspended in the air, watching Shen Qingqiu's figure descend like a kite with a broken string, staring at the blinding streak of blood upon her, as the last thread of my sanity snapped completely. Unforgivable. This is unforgivable. Ding. Detected an extreme mutation in the host's emotional state. The system's emotional threshold has broken its limits. Activating hidden final quest, Godslaying. System operation nearing overload, forcibly unlocking the host's full potential for 3 minutes. Countdown beginning. There was no need for the system to elaborate. The essence blood of the primordial ancestral dragon within me was already burning with unchecked intensity. I threw my head back and unleashed a roar that sounded nothing like a human. The 12 celestial chains binding me were shredded apart by the sheer unbridled power of my physical form. I reached into the void and drew the Zhuxian ancient sword, its crimson blade radiating an infinite aura of slaughter. This was the first time I had truly wielded this god-tier artifact. As the hilt settled into my grip, the sky across the entire lower realm instantly turned the color of blood. A boundless killing intent radiated from me, spreading wildly to the horizon. My state had temporarily transcended the Emperor realm, touching upon the hazy ethereal level of the gods. The golden-armored envoy looked at my blood-soaked form and, eyes burning with crimson madness, feeling, for the first time, a tremor of fear from the depths of his soul. What weapon is that in your hand? How can it possess the power to sever the laws of the heavenly Tao? I did not answer him. I simply bowed my head and gently wiped a speck of dust from the blade of my sword. My voice was hoarse, like a demon crawling out from the 9 depths of the abyss. You have erred in 100 ways, but you should never have harmed those by my side. Even if the god monarch of the 9 heavens were to descend in person today, I would still force him to his knees to submit to my sword. With both hands gripping the Zhuxian sword, I aimed at the colossal blood-colored wheel and the golden-armored messenger in the sky. I struck down with ferocious intent, unleashing a blood-red sword aura 10,000 zhang long. Carrying a heaven-shaking, killing intent that caused the myriad worlds to tremble, it tore the very fabric of space asunder. That supposedly indestructible manifestation of the heavenly Tao, before this wave of sword energy, was no sturdier than tofu. It was cleaved in two instantly. The sword aura, its momentum undiminished, struck the golden-armored messenger directly. God Monarch, save me! The golden-armored messenger let out a desperate, harrowing cry. The purple-gold divine armor that he claimed was impervious to all laws shattered into countless fragments. His massive body was shredded by the blood-red sword aura, turning into a shower of light that filled the sky. Not even a trace of his soul remained. That single strike did not merely slay the divine messenger, it shredded the golden imperial edict that loomed high above. Golden fragments rained down like meteors across the Tianji sword sect, and the entire arena fell into a deathly silence. Even the wind ceased to blow. All the surviving elders and disciples stared at me, hovering in the air as if witnessing a monster. A single sword strike to slay a god, is this something a human being is capable of? I paid no heed to the astonishment of those below. In the final second before the 3-minute limit expired, I shifted my posture and caught Shen Qingqiu as she plummeted from the sky. Her breathing was faint, and the flickering flame of her soul seemed ready to extinguish at any moment. Senior brother, how is master? Su Qinghan scrambled toward me, tears streaming down her face like a broken string of pearls. I felt Shen Qingqiu's body growing cold, a pain as if my heart were being carved out, yet at this moment the system signaled a miracle. Ding, detected that the host has completed the hidden god-slaying quest. Received heaven-defying reward, 1 9-turn soul-returning golden pill. Capable of resurrecting the dead, restoring flesh to bones, and reconstructing shattered souls. Received the blueprint for a peak-grade spirit-gathering array. Received 10 law fragments. Without a moment's hesitation, I produced the golden pill, which radiated 9 distinct colors. The medicinal pill dissolved the moment it touched her tongue, and a massive, warm surge of life energy instantly enveloped Shen Qingqiu's entire body. The paper-white pallor of her face began to regain its healthy, rosy hue. Her stark white hair, at a speed visible to the naked eye, reverted to its original lustrous black. Her severed meridians were not only completely restored but had become even wider and more resilient than before. Finally, all is well. Shen Qingqiu had escaped the clutches of death, though she had slipped into a deep slumber due to severe exhaustion. I let out a long sigh of relief, gathered Shen Qingqiu into my arms, and turned to face the sectmaster, who lay collapsed upon the high platform. Let us consider the great tournament that just concluded as nothing more than a farce. I am taking the grand prize, the 9-orifice barrier-breaking pill. Who is in favor? Who dares to object? The sectmaster trembled from head to toe, waving his hands frantically. No objections, I have no objections. Lin Fan, no, Senior Lin, this is the barrier-breaking pill. With trembling hands, he produced a jade box and offered it to me from across the distance. I accepted the box, my cold gaze sweeping over Gu Tianxing, who was shivering in the corner. He had been so utterly terrified by my aura that he had even forgotten the agony caused by the backlash of the 10,000 souls soul-devouring array. Gu Tianxing colluded with the demon clan, intending to slaughter his own sect members. I shall spare your life today, but I will strip you of your cultivation and your arrogance. I flicked my finger and a streak of sword energy instantly shattered Gu Tianxing's dantian. He let out a blood-curdling shriek before fainting. From this day forth, he is a cripple, lesser than even a common mortal. As for his final sentencing, I leave that to the sect's judgment hall. With Su Qinghan in tow, I carried Shen Qingqiu back toward Suiyu Peak, the entire sect watching us with the fearful reverence reserved for a deity. For the next half-month, the Tianji sword sect was plunged into an eerie silence. No one dared to disturb the peace of Kuiyu Peak. The sect even took the initiative to send disciples to pave the mountain path leading to Kuiyu Peak, for top-grade spirit stones. Meanwhile, our life on Kuiyu Peak was more warm and tranquil than ever before. Because Shen Qingqiu remained in a deep sleep to recover, the responsibility of caring for her fell to Su Qinghan. The Empress, who was once as cold and arrogant as glacial ice, had now learned to cook porridge and prepare snacks. Although she blew up the kitchen twice at first, under my careful guidance, the lotus seed congee she prepared had become quite delicious. Senior brother, try this osmanthus cake and tell me if it is sweet enough. Beside the stone table in the courtyard, Su Qinghan wore a simple, light-colored robe. She held a plate of exquisite refreshments in her hands. Her eyes filled with anticipation as she looked at me. I took a piece and tasted it, nodding repeatedly, delicious. Your skills are now refined enough to open your own restaurant, junior sister. Upon hearing the praise, a sweet, radiant smile blossomed upon Su Qinghan's beautiful face. Afterwards, she carried another bowl of steaming spirit herb porridge into the cave dwelling to feed Shen Qingqiu. Watching her busy figure, my heart was filled with a sense of fulfillment. What exactly is the joy of raising one's own disciple? This is it. The Empress who once demanded to slaughter her way back to the Nine Heavens' mysterious realm at the slightest provocation, now spends her every thought on how to perfect her porridge. That afternoon, the sun was bright and the breeze was gentle as I lay on the rocking chair in the courtyard, basking in the sun. In my hand, I toyed with the 9 orifices heaven-breaking pill obtained from the sect leader. In truth, this elixir no longer held any effect for me. My myriad kalpa indestructible body is 10,000 times more potent than any physique in this world. Yet this was the prize Su Qinghan had risked her life to win for me. As I sat pondering, a familiar scent of wine wafted toward me. You brat, being lazy again are you? A voice somewhat frail, yet still carrying an inner strength echoed from behind me. Startled, I turned to see Shen Qingqiu leaning against the frame of the cave entrance, draped in a wide cloak. Although her complexion remained slightly pale, her eyes, clear as autumn water, had regained their former spirit. Master, you have finally awakened. I hurriedly jumped up and rushed to support her. Shen Qingqiu cast a sidelong glance at me, but she did not refuse my assistance, allowing me to guide her to the rocking chair. She looked at me with an expression of great complexity. That earth-shattering battle left her in a coma, but she had clearly sensed the aura I unleashed in the final moments before I collapsed. Boy, just how many secrets have you been keeping from me? With a single strike, you shattered the avatar of a higher realm deity. Do not tell me that was merely something you practiced in these past few days. I scratched my head and chuckled. Master, everyone has their own secrets. You only need to know that no matter how powerful I become, I am still the disciple of Kuiyu Peak, and as long as I can still cook braised pork for you, that is enough. Shen Qingqiu looked at me in silence, a flicker of tenderness and hidden emotion flashing deep within her eyes. She suddenly reached out and pinched my cheek with force, causing me to wince in pain. I suppose you still have a conscience, brat. You haven't let my efforts go to waste, but this time, to save that girl, this old lady nearly lost her life. How do you intend to compensate me? I pondered for a moment, then spoke with seriousness. How about I prepare the Buddha jumps over the wall dish tonight? I shall also infiltrate the sect master's vault to procure that 800-year-old hundred flowers brew, as a tribute to you. Shen Qingqiu's eyes lit up. He swallowed hard and immediately agreed. Be careful when you go to steal the wine. Do not let that old man discover you. Just as we two, master and disciple, were contemplating how to approach the sect master, Su Qinghan emerged from the cave dwelling carrying a basin of water. Seeing that Shen Qingqiu had finally awakened, her eyes turned red, and the basin fell from her hands, clattering against the ground. She rushed forward and threw herself into Shen Qingqiu's arms, sobbing uncontrollably. Master, you have finally awakened. Qinghan truly thought I would never see you again. Shen Qingqiu, clearly unaccustomed to such a display of emotion, patted her back in a flustered manner. Very well, very well. My fate is resilient. Even the king of hell would not dare claim me. Cease this weeping. It is quite unseemly. Though his words were dismissive, he could not conceal the faint smile playing upon his lips. That evening the courtyard of Kuiyu Peak was spread with a sumptuous feast. I had specifically arranged a top-tier spirit gathering array, rewarded by the system, which rendered the spiritual energy of Kuiyu Peak so dense that it condensed into spirit rain. To cultivate in such an environment is truly worth 1,000 miles of progress in a single day. 3 rounds of wine later, as I watched a slightly intoxicated Shen Qingqiu and a flushed Su Qinghan, I withdrew the jade box containing the 9-orifice barrier-breaking pill from my robes and presented it to her. Junior sister, this is for you. Su Qinghan was stunned. The alcohol's effect faded as she waved her hands frantically. Senior brother, have you lost your mind? This was the prize I won specifically to help you improve your mortal constitution. I handed it to her with a smile, meeting her gaze with sincerity. Junior sister, you witnessed the battle just recently. My strength is such that I no longer require this medicinal pill. But you are different. Although you have merged with the profound ice phoenix bone, the beings from the upper realm have already discovered your traces. You must grow stronger rapidly if you are to protect yourself. This 9-orifice barrier-breaking pill will facilitate the final transformation of the bloodline within your body. Only when you are sufficiently powerful can your senior brother rest easy. System detected that the host has selflessly gifted a priceless treasure, triggering the critical multiplier return mechanism. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the passive skill, immunity to all physical and magical damage. Upon this transaction is incredibly favorable. Su Qinghan looked at the medicinal pill within the jade box, then at my resolute gaze. Tears once again flowed uncontrollably down her cheeks. She no longer refused but solemnly accepted the jade box. Senior brother master, your kindness is something I could never fully repay, even if my bones were ground to dust. I swear I shall return to the peak of the 9 heavens with all possible haste. When that day comes, it will be my turn to protect both of you. Shen Qingqiu took a sip of wine, waving his hand with an aura that reached the heavens. With your master and senior brother as your backing, no matter what 9 heavens God-honored being it may be, we shall strike them all down until they crawl at our feet. That night, the laughter of Kuyu Peak echoed throughout the mountains and forests. This was the happiest day I had experienced since my transmigration. However, days of peace are always fleeting. 3 days later, in the dead of night, a violent gale howled outside as thunder rumbled across the sky. Su Qinghan was in seclusion within her wooden cottage, refining the 9-orifice break burial pill. Shen Qingqiu was in his cave dwelling, stabilizing his cultivation realm, while I sat alone in my room meditating. Suddenly, the system emitted an eerie crackling noise, as if affected by some powerful interference. Warning, an unidentified space-time anchor has been detected and is currently activating. Warning, a remnant item within the host storage has begun to resonate. I snapped my eyes open and accessed the system storage, only to see the fragments of the yellow Dharma scroll, which I had slashed to pieces at the martial arts plaza that day, uncontrollably flying out of the spatial bag. In my room, they pieced themselves together into a broken rune. The rune emitted a sinister light, tearing open a black void portal, taller than a man, into the air. Beyond the gateway lay endless darkness and chaos. What is happening? I furrowed my brow, silently circulating my internal energy throughout my body, ready to strike at a moment's notice. At that very instant, a voice filled with profound sorrow, even carrying a trace of trembling, emanated from deep within the black void portal. Mortal bones. 100,000 years have passed, and at last, a mortal bone has appeared. The 9 heavens God-honored is nothing more than a thief. The bone within your body is the true taboo of these myriad heavens and worlds. Come quickly, our time is running thin, they are about to awaken. The voice grew intermittent, eventually transforming into a hair-raising, agonizing scream. Immediately following that, the void portal shattered with a thunderous roar, vanishing without a trace as if nothing had ever occurred. Only a single black feather drifted slowly down to my feet. I picked up the feather, and a massive surge of memories flooded madly into my mind. In that moment, I beheld an ancient battlefield where blood flowed like a river, and countless deities, 100 times more powerful than the golden armored envoy, fell from the sky like falling dumplings. At the center of that battlefield stood a man with his back turned to me. His figure was identical to mine, and beneath his feet lay the entire 9 heavens mystic realm. It turns out that my supposed mortal nature was never that of a talentless, good-for-nothing trash. It was an ancient taboo, powerful enough to make the very divine realm tremble in fear. I stared at the pitch-black night sky outside the window, gripping the black feather in my hand, the corner of my mouth curling into a cold, exhilarating smile. It seems this quiet, peaceful life must come to a temporary end. If those immortals in the heavens wish to play, then I shall raise the stakes and give them a game they will never forget. Just as I was about to push the door open to step outside, the system manifested once more, displaying a blood-red quest window. The final main quest has been unlocked. Traverse the 9 heavens mystic realm to uncover the secrets behind the origin of the mortal bone. Phase 1 objective. Travel to the God Burial Abyss in the northern wasteland Forbidden Zone. Search for the long-lost primordial divine temple. I took a deep breath of the cold, crisp mountain air, turning to glance at Su Qinghan and Shen Qingqiu as they rested. Master, junior sister, wait for me. Once I have pierced this sky asunder, I shall return to cook braised pork for you both. The following morning, as the first rays of sunlight touched Kuyu Peak, I had already been busy in the kitchen for a full hour. On the table sat the ginseng chicken soup I had carefully simmered, alongside the osmanthus cakes that Su Qinghan favored most, and several jars of freshly brewed peach blossom wine prepared for my master. I looked upon these familiar sights, a sudden indescribable sense of reluctance rising in my heart. However, the information transmitted by the black feather last night was far too grave. The 9 heavens divine venerable is a madman to the core. He has discovered the trail of my junior sister, and will never let it go. If I leave them behind on Kuyu Peak, sooner or later they will be hunted down by the entire 9 heavens mystic realm. Only by venturing to the God Burial Abyss, shaking the very foundations of the heavens, and drawing all malice and attention toward myself, can they truly be safe. I left a sound-transmitting jade slip on the table, inscribed with a light-hearted message. Master Junior Sister, I am heading down the mountain to buy some delicacies for you both and to run a few errands. Take care of yourselves during this time. If you dare let yourselves go hungry, I will discipline you both when I return. Finishing the recording, I took a deep breath, tucked the black feather into my robes, and while they remained in deep slumber, I refrained from using any true energy, moving like a common mortal, and descended Kuyu Peak in silence, carried only by the morning breeze. Yet what I did not know was that the very moment I turned away, the door to Master's cultivation cave creaked open just a sliver. Shen Qingqiu stood there quietly, her hand tightly gripping the wine flask I had given her yesterday. Her eyes were slightly reddened. Does this boy truly think his master is oblivious to everything? You muttered to yourself. The door to the wooden hut next to us opened as well. Su Qinghan stepped out, her eyes also rimmed with red. The two women looked at each other without a word, yet the determination in their eyes was strikingly identical. Master, where has senior brother gone? Let us depart. Su Qinghan bit her lip, a flicker of unprecedented madness flashing within her eyes. Shen Qingqiu tilted his head and took a long draught of wine, the corner of his mouth curling into a cold, arrogant yet heartbreaking smile. Naturally, a disciple of my, Shen Qingxiu's, lineage, even if they were to pierce a hole in the heavens, I would still be the one standing behind them, handing them the blade. I shall enter seclusion, and if I do not reach the Emperor realm, I shall never emerge. Upon leaving the Heavenly Mystery Sword sect, I immediately activated the concealment talisman granted by the system, suppressing my great Tao aura, which rivaled that of the gods, until not a trace remained. Even my earth-shatteringly handsome face was smeared with a layer of mud, transforming me into an unremarkable ordinary rogue cultivator. After all, the God-burial abyss lies at the far north of the northern wilderness, millions of miles away, and the journey requires traversing several perilous forbidden zones. Though my strength is peerless, I have no desire to be bothered by mindless villains along the way. Just like that, I infiltrated a merchant caravan heading toward the borders of the northern wilderness. The leader of the caravan was a boisterous man, with a thick, horseshoe beard, known to all as Zhao Tiezu, a cultivator in the peak of the transformation realm. Seeing me alone, carrying only a tattered bundle, he kindly allowed me to travel with them and share their meals. He tasked me daily with feeding grass to the spirit beasts, pulling the carriages, and the journey proceeded quite peacefully. Every day, aside from feeding the spirit beasts, I would lie upon the haystacks, listening to the caravan hands boast and gossip. The scent of worldly life, which I had not inhaled for so long, allowed my tightly wound nerves to finally relax. Say, have you all heard? Something monumental has happened at the Heavenly Mystery Sword sect recently. Zhao Tiezu chewed on a flatbread, spraying crumbs everywhere as he gossiped with gusto. They say that Mortal Bone's senior brother of theirs slashed the sky apart with a single sword, reducing even the immortals of the upper realms to shreds. Now the entire northern wilderness is whispering that he must be the reincarnation of an ancient sword god. A scrawny man beside him interjected, his face full of disbelief. Boss, you're exaggerating again. How could a mortal bone possibly cultivate? I suspect it's just the Heavenly Mystery Sword sect gilding their own reputations to intimidate other sects. Zhao Tiezu slapped the scrawny man on the head. What would you know? My cousin's neighbor's older brother was there that day and saw it with his own eyes. They say the senior Lin Fan stands 8 feet tall, with a blue face and jagged fangs, capable of devouring 3 children in a single sitting. Lying in the hay, I felt black lines cross my forehead, nearly unable to restrain myself from jumping out and kicking this bearded fool. I am a man of such striking, peerless beauty. What is this nonsense about a blue face, jagged fangs, and eating children? Just as the atmosphere within the caravan was at its most festive, a piercing burst. Immediately after, a gale erupted and a massive black cloud blotted out the sun. This is dire. It is a flock of gale black eagles. The thin man screamed in terror, and the entire merchant caravan fell into immediate chaos. Hundreds of black demonic birds, their wingspans stretching over 10 meters, dove from the sky like bolts of black lightning. These black eagles were all peak tier 3 demonic beasts, equivalent to the peak Judan realm of a human cultivator, but their sheer numbers and aerial superiority were overwhelming. Although Zhao Tiju was at the Hua Ding realm, even he with 2 hands could not fend off so many enemies, and he was quickly forced into a continuous retreat by several large eagle leaders. Do not panic, form the defensive formation. Zhao Tiezu, covered in blood, roared as he held his ground at the front, but the caravan guards had already lost their nerve. The formation collapsed instantly. A razor-sharp eagle talon was on the verge of crushing the skull of a 5-year-old girl. That child was the daughter of the caravan's accountant. She usually loved to run behind me, calling me big brother. I sighed, reluctantly rising from the pile of dried grass. I had intended to travel quietly, yet they forced my hand. Just as those talons were half an inch from the girl's head, I casually plucked a withered branch used to feed the spirit beasts nearby. Without looking, I swung it lazily toward the sky. A sword aura so thin it was almost invisible shot out from the tip of the branch. There was no earth-shattering noise, nor any blinding, resplendent light. The sword aura passed by like a gentle breeze, and the hundreds of gale-black eagles in the sky did not even have time to shriek. Their bodies froze in midair simultaneously. The next second, all the black eagles plummeted like dumplings, striking the ground as a pile of corpses. Between the brows of every eagle was a tiny red dot, a fatal strike. The entire caravan fell into a dead silence, everyone left in a state of stupor. Zhao Tiezu raised his blade, staring blankly at the heap of demonic beast carcasses on the ground, then scanning his surroundings. Which senior expert is offering their silent aid? This junior Jotiju begs to kowtow in gratitude. Having said that, he dropped to his knees with a thud. I threw the branch away nonchalantly. I lay back down in the dried grass and turned over. I pretended to be trembling with fear. What kind of joke is this? If I were to reveal my true identity, wouldn't these people treat me like an ancestor to be worshipped? If that were the case, how could the path ahead be of any interest? After experiencing such terror, Tanoi was shaken. To her, I was merely a coward who hid in the hay during the chaos, only capable of idle gossip. The little girl named Tuan-Na ran over and handed me a wild fruit covered in mud. Big brother, do not be afraid. The ugly bird is already dead. I looked at her innocent smile, accepted the fruit, and took a bite. It was truly sweet. As I patted her head, I thought to myself, once I deal with that bastard, 9 heavens God venerable, I will surely open a small tavern in the mortal realm, with my master and junior sister, spending our days watching the smoke rise from the hearths of men. Would that not be 10,000 times more enjoyable than being some wretched deity? After half a month of traveling, the merchant caravan finally reached the ice and snow city on the border of the northern wastelands. I bid them farewell there and stepped alone into the forbidden zone of death, shrouded in gray mist all year round. As I entered the god-burial abyss, the air immediately became thick with a nauseating stench and a sense of absolute despair. The gravity here is 100 times stronger than in the outside world. Even a typical great master of the princely realm could not fly through the air here. The ground was littered with the colossal remains of skeletons, some still faintly radiating divine light. It seems that during the primordial war of that era, many true gods truly perished here. Following the guidance of the Black Feather, I waded through the mist for 3 days and 3 nights. Along the way, I encountered many demonic specters formed from the remnants of God's souls and resentment. Yet, before my myriad Kalpa's indestructible body, these things were like meeting their natural nemesis. I did not need to strike. I simply stood there, letting the ancestral dragon's vital energy radiate from me ever so slightly. Seeing me was like seeing their own progenitor. The demonic specters were terrified to the point of dissipating on the spot. Finally, at sunset on the 4th day, I arrived at the edge of a bottomless abyss. Deep within the chasm, black light flickered, the power calling to me emanated from below. I took a deep breath, and without the slightest hesitation, leaped downward. With the chilling wind howling in my ears, I fell for an unknown duration until with a thunderous crash, my feet finally struck solid ground. Before me appeared a desolate and ruined divine temple. On the temple's plaque, 3 large, ancient divine characters were inscribed. Temple of the Mortal God. So in the primordial era, Mortal Bones was actually a title for the leader of the gods. I strode into the temple. Inside the vast empty hall there sat only a massive black throne. Resting upon that throne was a skeleton, dried and withered by the passage of time. Although the flesh had long since vanished, the bones were still densely covered in brilliant golden Tao patterns, identical to those within my own body. Just as I drew near, 2 flickering dark green flames suddenly ignited within the hollow sockets of the skeleton's skull. A vast and sorrowful surge of divine consciousness exploded directly within my mind. You have finally arrived. Looking at that skeleton, the final successor of my bloodline, I felt not a shred of fear, but instead a sense of intimacy, as if our blood was truly connected. Are you the old man who handed out those flyers to lure me here? I asked, lacking any sense of respect. The skeleton trembled slightly, appearing somewhat helpless in the face of my irreverent attitude. I am the primordial god of the ancient era, the very origin of the great Tao across the myriad worlds. 1,000,000 years ago, that despicable scoundrel, the 9 heavens god Venerable, took advantage of my secluded meditation while I attempted to break through to the origin realm, and conspired with the 8 great world lords to ambush me. He drained my earthly veins, usurped my heavenly Tao authority, and even cursed our entire mortal clan. For generation after generation, we were doomed to be talentless vessels incapable of cultivation, while he sat high upon his throne as God Venerable, trampling us into the mud. The skeleton's voice was filled with boundless rage and resentment. So that was it, I realized, finally understanding why my 3 years of bitter training hadn't even allowed me to reach the true origin realm. It turns out I had been shackled by a curse affecting my entire bloodline. But my apologies, old man. Your curse does not seem to affect me, as I possess a system. I thought this smugly to myself, though outwardly, I maintained an expression of absolute indignation. Rest assured, ancestors, I will certainly avenge this blood feud. Since you summoned me here, do you have some heaven-defying inheritance for me? Hurry up and hand it over. The skeleton let out a bitter laugh. My inheritance has already been drained. Even this fragment of my soul is about to dissipate. There is nothing left to pass on. My mouth twitched in annoyance. Then why did you summon me from so far away? Just to tell me a bedtime story? Do not be hasty. The flames within the skeleton's eye sockets flickered. Although I have no inheritance for you, I have left behind the key to the 9 heavens God Venerable's heavenly Tao authority. Once you merge with this key, you will be able to disregard all of his divine laws and drag him down from his pedestal. As he spoke, the skeleton's ribcage shattered and a black heart, beating slowly, floated toward me. That heart was wrapped in countless chains of the great Tao, emitting archaic fluctuations that made my heart race. This is the primordial. The curse within your body will not only be completely dispelled, but your physical form will transcend the limitations of this universe, achieving the true primordial physique. However, I must warn you, the fusion process is a trial of life and death. Should you fail, your soul shall be utterly extinguished. I stared at that pitch-black heart, drawing in a long, deep breath. In this lifetime, I have always feared pain above all else. But as long as I can become stronger, as long as I can protect those I hold dear, I will brave mountains of blades and seas of fire without hesitation. Come, I said, spreading my arms wide, as the black heart transformed into a stream of light, viciously plunging into my chest. An agony beyond words immediately consumed my entire being. As if tens of thousands of ants were gnawing at my marrow, and as if countless blades were relentlessly shredding my soul. I groaned, gritting my teeth so hard my lips split, yet I did not let out a single cry. Under this terrifying pressure, my undying physique began to regenerate with madness. And my muscles, bones, and even my very blood underwent a heaven-shaking transformation. The system flooded my mind with urgent notifications. Warning, undetermined primordial energy detected, attempting forced integration. Host's physical body is at risk of collapse, mobilizing all energy for repair. Just as the pain brought me to the brink of unconsciousness, the entire abyss of the buried gods began to tremble violently. From outside the great hall, a heaven-shaking laughter erupted. Ha ha ha, Yang Mi of the anti-ancient faction, you truly hid well. It took great effort to track you down, yet here you are, ripe for the taking. I struggled to open my eyes, seeing 12 golden silhouettes radiating the terrifying pressure of the true immortal realm, as they shattered the great doors of the temple and surged inside. The leader was a golden-armored divine general, his expression etched with cruelty. His reverence calculated correctly, he sneered. Knowing you would inevitably come to seek the anti-god temple, he dispatched us 12 divine generals to lay an inescapable net for you here. Today not only shall you perish, but this entire anti-god temple shall be wiped from existence. Damn it, I cursed inwardly. I was at the most critical moment of the fusion. I could not move a muscle. Never mind 12 true immortals, even the most mediocre, nascent soul cultivator could strike me down with a single blow right now. Is this where I, Lin Fan, am destined to meet my end? Watching my helpless, agony-stricken form, the 12 divine generals laughed with increasing arrogance. Kill this boy, and bring the primordial source of the anti-ancient faction to his reverence. 12 divine weapons radiated an aura capable of annihilating heaven and earth, rising in unison to strike directly at my head. In this moment, hanging by a single thread, a sword aura of extreme, biting cold, carrying a supreme pressure that froze all things, descended from the abyss like a falling waterfall. Whoever dares to touch my senior brother shall be executed to the 9th generation. Immediately following, a blood-colored sword light, even more tyrannical and ferocious, struck like the axe of Pangu, creating the heavens and earth, shattering the joint barrier of the 12 divine generals. My precious disciple is not someone that trash like you can touch. 2 stunning figures descended from the sky, standing firmly before me. One was clad in robes as white as snow, wielding the 9 provinces Coldmaster sword, with the phantom of a 1,000-foot-long ice dragon looming behind her. She was a cold and aloof woman, while the other wore a scarlet dress, her azure hair dancing in the wind, holding a wine gourd in her hand, radiating a monstrous killing intent throughout her entire being. A peerless sword god. Junior sister, master, I looked at their slender yet unbreakable silhouettes, my eyes instantly reddening and my vision blurring. Why have you come here? Did I not tell you both to wait? I told you to wait on the mountain, so why have you come here? Su Qinghang did not turn back, only gripping the long sword in her hand tighter. Her voice was gentle, yet held an unquestionable firmness. Senior brother is a liar, you left us behind to face the danger alone. Qinghan disagreed, having promised that she would trade places so I could protect Shen Qingqiu. She glanced back at me with an expression of boundless allure. You damn brat, I will settle this with you once we return. For now, close your eyes and focus on your breakthrough for me. We will hold them off here. I sensed the aura radiating from them and was struck with deep astonishment. Su Qinghan's cultivation had reached the terrifying realm of a half-step emperor, and my master Shen Qingqiu had completely broken through the sovereign realm, reaching the pinnacle of the true emperor realm. They were only a single step away from the realm of a true immortal. What kind of frantic, arduous training had these 2 women undergone to reach such heights in such a short time? The 12 divine generals stared at the 2 who had suddenly appeared, first stunned, then bursting into contemptuous laughter. Mere pawns from the lower realms, not even having reached the immortal realm, yet you dare to block the path of true immortals? You do not know your own worth. The 12 true immortals attacked simultaneously. The momentum was so great that it threatened to collapse the entire abyss of buried gods. Countless divine laws transformed into golden light, surging toward master and junior sister. Facing a power that filled one with despair, there was not a hint of hesitation in Su Qinghan's eyes. She bit down hard on her tongue, spraying a mouthful of essence blood onto the Zhuzhou sword. Ice Dragon Saint Physique, Absolute Zero Domain, Freeze. An extreme chill capable of freezing the very void, erupted. In a brief moment it encased the entirety of the divine laws in ice. Although it lasted for only a fleeting second, it was enough for Shen Qingqiu. Now, Shen Qingqiu roared, crushing the wine gourd in her hand. Inside that gourd was not wine, but the entirety of the origin sword intent she had condensed throughout her entire life. Sea of blood, floating dust, one sword strike to execute an immortal. A beam of sword light, blindingly red to the extreme, carried with it the determination of Shen Qingqiu to burn away her own life, piercing directly through the chest of a divine general. That lofty true immortal, who looked down upon the world, did not even have time to let out a miserable scream before his physical body was shredded by the violent sword energy, and he fell on the spot. What? This is impossible. The remaining 11 divine generals were struck with fear and astonishment. They had looked down upon the lower realm for 10,000 years. How could they have ever witnessed a mortal transcending realms to slay a true immortal, let alone one guarded by a formation? The 11 divine generals cast aside all contempt, forming the divine realm's most powerful formation, the heaven and earth net. Countless golden chains manifested from the void, carrying an irresistible power of sealing, binding Su Qinghan and Shen Qingqiu tightly in the center, as golden lightning descended upon them with insane ferocity. The phantom of the ice dragon behind Su Qinghan was shattered, and she coughed up mouthful after mouthful of blood. Shen Qingqiu was also drenched in blood, yet she gripped her sword tightly, shielding Su Qinghan behind her, refusing to retreat a single step. Give up? You underlings are willing to sacrifice your lives for a traitor destined to die. Is it truly worth it? The leading divine general sneered coldly. Su Qinghan wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, lifted her head, and upon her beautiful face blossomed a sorrowful smile that tugged at the heart. It is worth it, for he is my light. Even if I must die, I will die with him. Shen Qingqiu let out a loud, arrogant laugh. Nonsense. My disciple has a great destiny. If anyone is to die, it shall be you, fake gods. You will perish first. Break for me. Shenqiu disregarded everything, burning her own divine soul, attempting to forcibly shatter the formation. Seeing them risk their lives for her, and hearing their unhesitating, the blood within my body began to boil, surging with a ferocity beyond compare. Regardless of the fusion process, regardless of the narrow escape from death, my woman is bleeding. How could I remain here, continuing this pathetic fusion? My eyes instantly turned a deep burning crimson, and I abandoned all structured fusion methods, forcefully consuming the origin of reversion in a single gulp. With a deafening explosion that threatened to shatter the very fabric of the universe, the shackles within my body finally crumbled. A terrifying aura, one that transcended the Emperor realm, bypassed the true immortal realm, and even soared above the heavenly Tao of the nine heavens profound realm, erupted from within me. It was a primordial power that defied all laws, possessing the ability to create and annihilate all things. I rose from the ground, my garments billowing without a breeze, while images of dying stars flickered within my eyes. At this moment, the system issued an unprecedented frantic warning. Host has achieved a supreme transformation. Current realm, origin realm. 10,000 realms trembling. The system can no longer calculate the combat power of the host, entering hibernation for emergency upgrades. I waved my hand dismissively, and the heaven and earth net grand formation that imprisoned my master and junior sister vanished like paper, instantly reduced to nothingness. With a single step, I arrived before them, gently cradling the two weakened women in my arms. Forgive me, I am late. I channeled the power of the origin, and in a single breath, the wounds on their bodies were completely healed, and even their scorched foundations and shattered souls were forcefully restored by my hand. Senior brother, Su Qinghan clung tightly to my waist, weeping like a child who had been bullied. Shen Qingqiu fought back her tears, striking my chest lightly. At least you have a conscience, you brat. I gently patted Shen Qingqiu's back, shielding her and Su Qinghan behind me, before turning to face the 11 true immortals who hovered in the sky, trembling. The arrogance they displayed moments ago, treating all living things as ants, had vanished. Now before the power of my origin, they were nothing more than a flicker of a candle in a raging storm. You were just saying something about wanting to kill someone, were you not? I tilted my head, picking at my ear, and asked with chilling indifference. The divine generals were now gripped by absolute terror. The immortal bodies they took such pride in began to collapse uncontrollably under my gaze. Run, quickly, flee to the divine realm and inform the divine lord. The lead divine general let out a piercing scream, instantly burning his entire celestial body in a desperate bid to tear through the void. He incinerated his remaining essence, attempting to rip open the fabric of space to flee. The 10 remaining divine generals unleashed their own divine abilities, frantically scrambling to dive into the fissure in the sky. You think you can come and go as you please? Do you take me for the proprietor of an inn? I let out a cold laugh. Without even raising a hand, I simply uttered a single word. The decree of obliteration resonated with the power of the great Tao itself. The 11 true immortals, on the verge of escaping into the spatial rift, suddenly stiffened in midair as if they had been struck by a pause button. A second later, there was no earth-shattering explosion, nor was there any dazzling display of light. Their bodies and souls simply disintegrated into the finest particles of dust, akin to insignificant fireworks. They bloomed silently across the sky of the god-burial abyss, leaving behind not a single trace of their existence. Su Qinghan and Shen Qingqiu stared at the scene in a daze. Though they knew I had grown stronger, they never imagined I had reached such a terrifying level. To erase 11 true immortals with a single word, this completely defied the common logic of the cultivation world. Senior brother, what cultivation realm are you at now? Su Qinghan swallowed hard, her wide eyes filled with astonishment. I turned back and offered her a grin, revealing a flash of white teeth. Perhaps a realm that exceeds your imagination. I could pluck the stars from the heavens and turn them into candied haws for you both. Shen Qingqiu shot me a sidelong glance, yet the corners of her mouth could not stop curling upward. You stinking brat, your strength has increased, and so has your talent for boasting. But I like it, I laughed heartily, wrapping an arm around the waists of both women. Let's go, master, junior sister, where are we heading? Su Qinghan asked curiously. To the nine heavens profound realm. I looked up at the golden fissure that had yet to close, a cold glint of murderous intent flashing in my eyes. Courtesy demands reciprocity. Since that bastard nine heavens god-honored likes sending his lackeys here so much, then today we shall pay a personal visit to his abode, and incidentally help junior sister exact vengeance for her past life. Upon hearing that we were going to wreck the god-honored's courtyard, Shen Qingqiu's eyes lit up. Excellent. I have lived this long and have yet to taste the wine brewed by the gods. Today we shall ransack his wine cellar clean. Su Qinghan gripped my hand tightly, a burning spirit of battle igniting in her eyes. Very well, we go together. I led them forward. Our figures flickered, instantly transforming into a beam of light. We surged into the golden rift, traversing the endless currents of space. For me, it was now as simple as taking a stroll through my own backyard. In mere breaths, we had pierced the dimensional barrier and arrived in the legendary, supreme nine heavens profound realm. This place was wreathed in immortal energy, with divine beasts soaring through the heavens. Countless majestic immortal islands floated in perfect orderly formations. At the center of the profound realm stood the towering Lingxiao Palace, radiating an infinite divine brilliance. That was the sacred ground of the nine heavens god venerable. At this moment, within the Lingxiao Palace, the Nine Heavens God Venerable sat upright upon his supreme throne, observing the graceful dance of the immortal maidens below. He was adorned in an imperial robe embroidered with 9 golden dragons, his expression possessing a majesty that none could rival. Suddenly, the dome of the Lingxiao Palace erupted with a heaven-shaking, earth-shattering explosion. The sky of the entire 9 Heavens profound realm appeared as though it had been torn in two by an invisible hand. I led my master and junior sister as we stepped boldly through the fissure, landing firmly in the center of the main hall of the divine temple. The dancing maidens were struck with terror, their faces pale as they scattered in a panic. The 9 Heavens God Venerable surged to his feet, his eyes filled with disbelief. Fan Guyangni, how is it possible for you to be here? Where are my 12 divine generals? I waved my hand dismissively. I nonchalantly flicked my fingernail. You mean those 12 winged creatures? They found the scenery of the mortal realm too beautiful and have already turned into fertilizer to nourish the flora. How about it, God Venerable? Do you also wish to join them? The 9 Heavens God Venerable laughed in fury, his entire body erupting with a terrifying divine might that rivaled the chaotic cosmos in its arrogance. Even if you have merged with the source of the mortal gods, you are still nothing more than a brat who has just achieved a breakthrough. I have held dominion over the heavenly Tao for 1,000,000 years. How could a mortal ant like you ever hope to shake the heavens' mandate that governs all laws? The 9 Heavens God Venerable let out a thunderous roar, pressing his hands down with immense force, as if draining the very power of the entire 9 Heavens profound realm, manifesting into a colossal destructive hand 10,000 zhang in size. It descended with the momentum to crush the heavens and myriad worlds, striking directly down upon us. This power was truly terrifying. Even Shen Qingqiu and Su Qinghan wore grave expressions. Although they knew of my strength, facing the sensation of the entire universe pressing down upon them still instinctively suffocated them. I did not even spare a glance at that colossal hand, merely letting out a helpless sigh. It has been 1,000,000 years. Is this all the progress you have made, you old fool? What is stolen will always remain stolen. Today I shall show you what the true source of the great Tao really is. I raised my right hand, pressed 2 fingers together to form a sword, and lightly traced a line toward that heaven-destroying, earth-shattering hand. Rip! A crisp sound echoed like silk being torn asunder. The colossal hand, which had condensed the entire power of the heavenly Tao of the 9 Heavens profound realm, was effortlessly severed in 2 by my fingers. Furthermore, the momentum of my sword intent did not falter, directly severing the connection between the 9 Heavens God-honored one and the laws of the heavenly square palace. Impossible, this is absolutely impossible. The 9 Heavens God-honored one stared at his hands in terror. He realized that the boundless, immense power within his body was rapidly draining away. The authority of the heavenly Tao in which he took such immense pride. Before the power of my origin, it was truly nothing more than a paper tiger, unable to withstand a single blow. I took a single step, appearing directly before the divine throne, and grabbed the collar of his magnificent imperial robes, lifting him up as if he were a mere chick. A moment ago, while in the lower realms, you were using a stone mill to torment my junior sister. Were you not very arrogant? Were you not intent on rooting us out completely? Speak up. Why have you gone silent? I swung my hand and delivered a heavy slap, striking the 9 Heavens God-honored one directly across the face. Smack! I had used only 10% of my strength for this strike. The 9 Heavens God-honored one, a being of divine status, had his entire set of golden teeth knocked out by my blow. One side of his face swelled up like that of a hog. He was a god after all. When had he ever suffered such humiliation? Enraged, he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. If you kill me, the entire 9 Heavens profound realm will collapse. The myriad heavens and worlds will fall into great chaos. Can you bear the weight of such karma? I smiled and turned to look at Su Qinghan, junior sister. This old man says that if he dies, the world will descend into chaos. What do you think? Su Qinghan held the 9 provinces sword, ascending the divine stairs step by step. Her beautiful face was filled with the majesty and cold indifference of an empress. In our past life you betrayed me, slaughtered my kin, and stole my imperial lineage. Today is the day you die. As for the 9 Heavens profound realm, I shall personally reclaim governance over it. You need not concern yourself with such matters. Having spoken, Su Qinghan thrust her sword without a moment's hesitation, piercing directly through the heart of the 9 Heavens God Venerable. The absolute 0-degree temperature contained within her sword aura instantly froze his soul and immortal infant entirely. A god venerable of his generation had fallen just like that. The so-called final comeback, in the face of the power of the origin, failed to create even the slightest ripple. He had met his end. As the 9 Heavens God Venerable perished, the great Tao of the entire profound realm began to wail in grief. Those high-ranking officials and generals who had previously submitted to him fell to their knees one after another, trembling uncontrollably. I waved my hand, gathering the scattered power of the heavenly Tao, and infused it into Su Qinghan's body. Junior sister, the karmic debts of your past life have been settled by your senior brother. From this day forward, you are the true empress of this 9 Heavens profound realm. Anyone who refuses to submit, I shall deal with them personally. Su Qinghan felt the surging power of the imperial lineage within her, yet she showed no signs of great joy. She gazed at the desolate Lingxiao treasure hall, then suddenly turned to look at me. Senior brother, if I become this empress, does it mean I will no longer be able to return to Qiyu Peak to eat the meals you cook? I was stunned for a moment and scratched my head. In theory, that is correct. After all, the official duties of the heavenly court are quite demanding. Upon hearing this, Su Qinghan did not hesitate. She tossed the sphere of heavenly Dao power into the nearby immortal transformation pond. Then I have no use for this wretched god realm. Being cold and lonely is not nearly as good as being at Qiyu. I only need senior brother and master. This time it was my turn to be dumbfounded. This was the position of the supreme ruler of all the heavens and myriad realms. Yet this girl, all because of the meals I cook, discarded it as if it were nothing. Shen Qingqiu, standing by, laughed heartily as he walked over and patted Su Qinghan on the shoulder. Good girl, well done. This thankless, miserable position, let whoever desires it take it. We are returning to our Tian Sword sect. As I watched the two of them, an indescribable warmth welled up in my heart. Indeed, what does it matter to be at the peak of the myriad realms? What is the god of origin compared to being by their side? Living a life of leisure and ease is far more satisfying. Since that is the case, let us return home. I let out a resounding laugh, effortlessly placing an automated formation within the divine hall, ensuring the stability of the Xuan realm. With that done, I plundered the private treasury of the Nine Heavens Divine Venerable, specifically seizing the immortal artifact that Shen Qingqiu had yearned for day and night. Burdened with the spoils of war, we tore through the void and descended back to the lower realm. As we touched down upon the plaza of the Tianji Sword Sect, the entire sect erupted in a fervor. The sectmaster led all the elders and disciples to kneel in unison to welcome our return. Though they were ignorant of our true deeds, the mere traces of immortal aura clinging to us made it clear that we had achieved something truly earth-shattering. Senior Lin, Ancestor Lin, you have finally returned. The sectmaster was so moved that tears welled in his eyes. He looked ready to cling to my legs and call me grandfather. I waved my hand, tossing hundreds of immortal artifacts and divine elixirs that I had scavenged from the god realm toward the sectmaster as if they were mere cabbage. Take these trifles and use them to renovate the sect properly. From now on, I do not want to hear of you being bullied to your very doorstep. Tell every major sect in the northern wasteland. From this day forward, the Tianji Sword Sect is under the protection of Lin Fan. Gazing upon a mountain of peerless treasures, enough to incite a bloodbath across the entire cultivation world, the sectmaster fainted from sheer exhilaration. Ignoring the elders who were kowtowing frantically, I took my master and junior sister and flew directly toward Qiyu Peak, returning to our familiar courtyard. Looking at the kitchen, kept spotless by my junior sister, a sense of having lived a lifetime washed over me. At that very moment, the system, which had been dormant in my mind, suddenly emitted a cheerful notification. Ding. System upgrade complete. Host detected to be peerless across the myriad realms. The system has officially rebranded to the Peerless Everyday Gourmet System, issuing final daily mission. Prepare a perfect Buddha jumps over the wall for your master and junior sister. Reward, a set of 9-colored glazed kitchenware and a permanent aura of. Hearing this long-missed, familiar sound, I couldn't help but curse at the system. It truly knew my heart. I had no desire for endless slaughter and combat, and it had transformed into a cooking system. Very well, today, I shall let you taste my true culinary prowess. I rolled up my sleeves, donned my apron, and strode into the kitchen. My master and junior sister followed suit. Shen Qingqiu, the peerless sword god at the pinnacle of the emperor realm, sat crouched before the stove, tending the fire for me. Shedding all pretenses of dignity, she didn't just tend the fire, she couldn't resist dipping her finger into the sauce I had just prepared to taste it. When I caught her, she brazenly glared back at me. Beside her, the Nine Heavens Empress Su Qinghan, once cold and arrogant, was obediently washing and chopping vegetables. She used her 9 continents sword to slice meat, cutting through it as if it were mud. Had the immortals of the Nine Heavens realm witnessed this, they would have gouged their own eyes out. Twilight descended, casting a golden hue over the courtyard of Qiyu Peak. A fragrance so intense it reached the heavens, drifted from the kitchen, leaving the elders on neighboring peaks salivating, though they dared not step an inch closer. On the dining table, a pot of Buddha jumps over the wall, simmered with the meat of a divine dragon from the 9 heavens and 10,000-year-old spirit ginseng from the East Sea. Boiled, Shen Qingqiu opened the peach blossom wine he had stolen from the divine realm. The intoxicating aroma of the wine was so potent that a single breath was enough to make one swoon. Come, for the peace and safety of our family, let us raise our glasses to the 2 most important people in my life. Bottoms up. The 3 wine cups clinked gently under the setting sun, emitting a crisp melodic sound. Su Qinghan took a small sip. Her cheeks flushed and her eyes sparkled with an astonishing brilliance. Senior brother, the braised dragon meat you prepared is even more delicious than the spirit beast meat we had before. Is that so? Would you like me to make it for you both every day from now on? Shen Qingqiu took a large gulp directly from the wine jar, letting out a sigh of profound satisfaction. Brat, do not think that just because you have become the god of the source, I cannot keep you in check. On Qiyu Peak, I will always be the master, and you will always be my obedient disciple. Do you understand? I nodded with a smile, and hurriedly placed a large piece of dragon meat into her bowl. Understood, understood. Master is the greatest in the world. I am merely the one who cooks for you. The spring breeze blew, scattering a few peach blossom petals. Su Qinghan looked at me, suddenly leaned in close, and gently kissed my cheek before lowering her head in a shy blush, busying herself with her meal. Seeing this, Shen Qingqiu refused to be outdone. She widened her eyes and grabbed my hand, shouting, "You 2 little ones dare to flaunt your affection right in front of your master. I don't care about anything else. Tonight, you must drink this entire jar of wine with me. We shall not stop until we are drunk. The laughter of the three of us echoed unrestrainedly throughout the courtyard. Throughout these long, arduous years of cultivation, we did not pursue the empty, illusory power of the heavens, nor did we concern ourselves with the trivial troubles of the mortal world. Every day we rose with the sun to work and rested when it set, tending to our vegetables, drinking wine, and cherishing each other's company.